17th. As we shall rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, I guess. Good.
It's not a big deal.
We're all here, so we put down the minutes. We're all here for roll call, okay? You have the
I
agenda.
can do a roll call.
Oh, okay, all right.
Robert Palma. Here. Jim Christopher.
Here.
Teresa Bills. Here. Gina Musgrove. Here.
Okay.
And
All right. You have the agenda. There's just two late agenda item additions that we want to put on here. They're administrative stuff to get out of the way first. So what I'd like to add to it is approving the restaurant relief bill. If you know, over the last several months, I've been involved for the township in getting some of that grant money to the 3 of the 4 restaurants in our township. And the county kind of had us do it on the if you remember from a previous meeting, that we would sign the agreement when they finally got it done. And as you know, with county agreements, it doesn't matter if you agree with the wording or not, you're going to sign it the way they send it. They finally sent it to me yesterday, so I would like permission to approve and sign the grant, the contract for the grant relief stuff for the restaurants. So that would be my motion, to approve and sign and return the county's contract for the relief money for the restaurants.
I will support that.
Okay. So any questions or comments from the board?
No.
If it needs a second, I'm happy to second.
Yeah. Jim seconded. Okay. So we should take a roll call because it is for money. It's about $17,000 that we got for the restaurants and things like heaters and igloos and sanitizers that and propane.
We had Gina supported it over
Oh,
here.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, that's okay,
Okay, I'm sorry.
as long as it works.
All right. So we should take a roll call vote on that. So,
Okay.
because it is for
And
money.
you said we're getting about 17,000, that's nice.
Well, it's already gone.
Right, well, they pick
Actually,
the
the
stuff up,
restaurants
right.
pick the stuff
Right.
up. Someday they're gonna send us the bill or the money and we're gonna
Okay.
reimburse it.
Great.
DePalma,
Yes.
Back, yes. Christopher,
Yes.
Bills,
Yes,
and Musgrove.
yes.
Okay, the second item we wanted to add to the agenda before we get into the budget was Michigan City Planner Training. Patty, did you want to
Yes.
cover that? Because you asked to put that in.
Yeah, so this came up and Danielle sent it to me. She was interested in going to it. And then we thought, well, heck, we'll open it up and see if anybody on the boards want to go. So there are 6 that want to go, 2 on the planning, 1 on the BZA, Danielle, Janelle, and I myself am gonna go to update myself on some stuff here. So, my motion is that, also it's $250 per person on the group rate, we're then $275 hours. So,
Hold on.
We're in the twilight zone.
All right, if you could repeat that, it's not connected.
okay,
It didn't
from
catch
the
any of that.
beginning.
Just, yeah, sorry.
So this is the Citizen Planner Program. Danielle had sent it my way. She was interested in attending. It's through the University of Michigan State University Extension. And it's 6 weeks on Thursday evenings from 6 to 9. And we opened it up and sent it out to see if anybody else was interested. And we have 2 people from the Planning Commission, 1 from the BZA, Janelle, Danielle, and myself. So there are 6 of us that will be taking this training. So my motion is that we approve the 6 attending the Michigan State University Citizen Planner Program, and the cost will come from their correct budget items in the budget regarding education.
And you said we got a group rate?
We did. The group rate was $250 each. It would have normally been $275 a piece.
I noticed that it says that is a reduced rate because it is all on Zoom due to the COVID. So that makes it easy, no traveling or anything else.
So that's at $250.
So that's your
That's
motion?
my motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Gina? Okay, any questions or comments from the board? If not, we take a roll call vote on it.
Back, yes. Christopher.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Mazzarelli.
Yes.
De Palma.
Yes.
And we're good.
Okay, so now we're gonna move to the main purpose of this meeting. That was just a couple of late item additions for housekeeping stuff, really. What we're here today is a work session, so I don't know if there's anybody on the Zoom, but if there is, we'll hold questions if they come in until the end of the meeting, because this is really a work session for the 5 of us. And I'm doing this budget meeting exactly the way I've done the 24 before it, and so I'll try and clear up a couple of things here. But what I'd like to do first, before we get into some of the discussion on the different items, and we'll go through the whole budget together, I thought it would be beneficial to cover a couple of things with you. So if you look at the second page that you got with the pie chart on it, what it's showing you is basically the 3 main areas of money that come into the township. The state shared revenue is the biggest single pot of money that comes in. And originally, if you go back a few months, remember we had talked at one of the board meetings about everybody was expecting that COVID was going to have a negative effect on the townships. We all thought it was. And we kind of swagged our estimate here originally at somewhere in the neighborhood of $40,000 to $60,000 hit that we thought we were going to hit on the state shared revenue. But ironically, as things progressed, they found out that the revenues came in better than they thought. And I think that's for 2 reasons primarily. One, even though people are home, they're still buying stuff, so there's still sales tax, which generates that. And 2, if you recall recently, in about the last year and a half or so, they started getting sales taxes on online sales from out-of-state entities, which never used to apply. If you've bought anything like on eBay lately in the last year or so, you know that you pay Michigan sales tax on it that you never used to. And so it actually ended up, instead of having $40,000 to $60,000 hit in our revenue, by the end of it all, about 2 weeks ago, they sent me an adjustment and said, hey, you're getting another $20-something thousand a year. So it's, while COVID's been bad for the country and certainly for the people impacted by it, and all of us have had to work around it, financially, it's actually worked out pretty well for townships, because we either got all of our costs covered and maybe a bit better than that, and most fire departments picked up a lot of extra money in the form of COVID funding that came in for what they did during the COVID period, and it's actually helped financially. So that state shared revenue, which is our biggest single bucket of money, is kind of the driver to the township, and where we thought we were going to lose about 40 grand, we actually made 20-something thousand more than we thought we were going to get. Of what's particular interest is yesterday I got an email that one of those updates that we get, and it said specifically that the state shared revenue sales tax for the month of January, and I'm going to believe this, was up 26% over last year. So I know everybody's frustrated from wearing masks, being confined, not going out and all that stuff, but financially a lot of the stuff keeps on chunking along pretty good, so it's quite surprising. The second part of that chart is the blue one, and that's basically what the township gets under that just short of a mill from the property tax value for all the state equalized value of the township, and that's the 219,000 I think I put in there. The third bucket, the real purpose for having this chart is to show you that in our case, and I don't think this is the case in any other townships I know, but in our case, you can see a huge part of our money comes from programs that we've strung together here in the township over the 25 years that produced a lot of money for us. And the reason I'm bringing this to everybody's attention, when whoever is running this township after us going forward needs to understand this. If that money isn't here, or we don't replace that money, this township will be back in the position it was when I started, and that is there will be no money to do anything. There will be 0 road projects and 0 infrastructure projects. And over the years, we've used money from these forces that come in here, these additional programs, to do things like build Station 2, pay for the ISO studies, pay for some of the hydrants we put around the township, pay for some of the storm sirens that weren't covered by grants, done major repairs on the fire station, and we've done a whole bunch of road work that was never done before. All of that stuff has come from money that we pulled from these other projects rather than getting it from a township taxpayer's pocket, okay? So I listed kind of some of the things up on top because I thought it would be beneficial to take a snapshot of that 344,000 and kind of say, where is it coming from and how stable do we think it is or what time frames it covers. What you'll see is all of these different projects have potential different times when they could stop or be negatively impacted. And I just want to talk about them a bit so you know where we're going and some additional revenue ideas I think we need to explore. The first one I put on there is the billboard. We get 11.5 a year from that one. I think that one's pretty stable because rarely do those billboards come down. What might happen in the future is the billboard industry has been trying to change the rules for billboards along the freeways and reduce the distance that was allowable for having another electronic billboard. Right now, ours is a fixed billboard. They put whatever the message is up there for whoever's paying for it, and that's it until they change it again. The electronic ones, as you know, like Nanoshi's is, you can roll a screen about every, I think it's 10 or 16 seconds, something like that. And so they're worth a lot more to the sign company, and they will pay probably 3 to 4 times as much for that billboard. I don't know if that's going to happen. They were talking about trying to do it after the new legislature got in, but I kind of think COVID's put all that stuff on hold. So I wouldn't hold my breath for that going up like we originally anticipated in the near future, but I do think it's very stable. It's got a long-term lease on it. The other thing is the property sale, which is basically the property that we sold to Barry that's behind the Consumers Power Building, where it's going to eventually be his recycling center for building materials. And that's going to eventually be paid off in 2033. Teresa helped in pulling out some of the records so we could get the contracts because I really hadn't looked at all of these. And you'll see why it was a good thing we did. We also took a look at the mining contract that generates about 85,000. If you remember the way that contract's set up, it pays us a monthly rent for the property as a minimum, period. If he takes material out of the site, the royalty he pays on that is drawn against that minimum. And right now, he hasn't pulled material off of the site in probably 6 or 7 years. If I had to swag it, we'd probably owe him about $1 million worth of material. But the way the agreement's set up, if he stops mining today, he's just walking away from $1 million. So it's not going anywhere now. But it actually, all of our records say it expired technically in 2012. And I told Barry that when he got back from Florida, I said, I think we need to extend that because I'm sure he wants to get some of that 4 or 5 million tons of sand that's on the southern portion of the township's property to get back his equity credit in those royalties. And so it's not going to get done, obviously, by 8 years ago. So he said, oh no, I think we extended that to 2026. Well, Teresa and I can't find it, and Will Hostel can't find it. So I have Barry trying to see if he can find it. We'll probably end up bringing a date to extend that somewhere out, if I had to guess, to around 30, 32 or something to give him enough time to get the rest of his material out. There's no real exposure for us, I think, of that leaving in the short term because he'd basically be walking away from all that material he already has credits on. The third thing is Bedrock's, let's see, that is the interest, I think, on the property sale. And so that should stay till 3033, but eventually that goes away. And keep in mind that before that date, we should have Barry developing his recycling center. I haven't been back there behind Consumers in about 1.5 years, but he said, I finished grading it. I put the blacktop apron down and Dave Ordine is finishing up the site plan for the recycling facility, which is basically the one we looked at originally when we talked to him. When that recycling center goes, we should start to get a revenue stream because we negotiated it with what I would call the equivalent of a tipping fee if it were a landfill. And that is the amount of material that goes through there. He charges kind of by the ton or the truckload, and we get a piece of that when it gets going. So while the property will eventually get paid off, it should start to generate tipping fees for recycling. And if it does what he projected at the beginning, it eventually could spin about 200 grand a year off for the township. But, you know, it's gotta get up and running. It's been overdue. He is getting the site ready, and Dave Wardina is working on a site plan. So hopefully we'll see that later this year. The cable contract that we have is basically the peg fees in that. And we actually think that's okay for now. The reason I put 2 years in a question mark, if you remember last year, there was a lot of discussion about Verizon going to 5G. And everybody assumed that these new 5G antennas, because that industry got a waiver from having to pay franchise fees on those 5G antennas. And they're the little ones that they're going to use for that new service. I had the township pay for a training class for me to set in about 2 weeks ago from John Pastel. John Pastel is probably the leading expert on cell leases because he's been in the business for 30 something years. He started with the industry when it just started coming here. He's kind of the guru. And in the past, I had talked to him about our lease, and he said, yeah, you guys got a great lease. But I wanted to know if anything was changing. So I sat in on the class, and it was very informative. What I thought was the case and what I had heard before was validated by him, and that is 5G transmission is not likely to make any of the big antennas out in the sticks where we are go away. And the reason for that is those big antennas are set up on frequencies that can roughly go on a 19-mile radius. That's why it was located here. It's 19 miles south of Flint and 19 miles north of Pontiac. So when cell service started going up the expressways to make it work for everybody, we just happened to be in the perfect spot. And he said those probably won't go away even with 5G, because 5G, while it offers a whole bunch of services they want to provide, and allows them to pack a whole lot more users into an area like New York City or Chicago, where there's high density, even if they put 5G out here, it's not going to be able to carry the distance necessarily to the next antenna. It'll have to hand off to a 4G antenna for the distance. So I don't think the antenna is going away. The owners of the antenna, American Tower, have, again, for the second time, hired another independent company. They called me up and they're trying to beat us up for some rent relief on the contract. But this time I asked them point blank, is this American Tower or are you a contractor for? Well, we're a contractor for. They're not asking for a whole lot, but I don't want to give them much. In fact, I want a lot in exchange. I want the contract's options guaranteed farther out than they're willing to do. So I put together what I thought it would be after having that class that John Pastel put on, and I've given it to Will. He's going to put it out. And John's comment in the class was, when you're negotiating with the antenna company, just take your time. It's not going to happen overnight. Just take your time. So I'm not in any big hurry, but there's always some possibility because a number of the leases on the antenna are subtenants on it. And when Teresa worked on that project for us, I saw notes in our file there that said you had contacted most of them and they said they're all in long-term agreements. It is not that easy to replace an antenna or move it somewhere, because John said the minimum cost to move everybody on that antenna is going to be at least $250,000. And they have to go to the other antenna and start paying for it and get it up and running before they can turn the other one off. So if you've got 4 or 5 tenants on there like we do, that's a big nightmare. And I don't think we have too much to worry about there, but sometime later this year, maybe early next year, probably later this year, you may see me bring a revision to the antenna lease if we can get the terms that I've asked for. Otherwise, I'll just be negotiating with it till the day I leave so it doesn't get done. Okay. And then the Mavis building, while it's only on a 1-year lease because it's really run through the state of Michigan, the federal government sends the money to the state of Michigan. The state of Michigan gives the money to the state police. The state police take the money to Mavis, and that's how the rent on the building gets paid. So that one, while it's a 1-year lease, I don't have any anticipation of them moving. The building was built to suit for them. They seem to be very happy. And the last discussion I had with Dave over there, the guy that's usually in the facility, said, we just want to extend the lease. Now, I know that Barry said, in the original negotiations, they were supposed to pay the utilities and they haven't been. It's about 1,000, and they're a lot more than they said they were gonna be. So the electric bill's about $1,000 a month. He said he's gonna go back to them, tell them, you guys start paying the electric on it. So, but I don't believe they're going anywhere. The last area I wanna mention is the census. I don't know how much money it's worth. I'm pretty sure we got more people than we had in 2010 when we got decimated, where we lost roughly 11% of our population. Just a gut feeling, I don't think we're going to be as big as we were in 2020, but we're going to be somewhere between the 55 or 5,400 we had in 2010 and the 62 something that we had in 2000. So I don't know what that number is. There was just a story that I saw in the news that said the census, because Trump had started to pull back the census takers early and then they put them back on, that it's being delayed, where we thought we would have our new census number by April. They don't think we're going to have it till September or October. So we're going to get some money for that. My guess is more than 5,500 people, but I think less than 6,200. I don't know. And the reason for that is we were hit very hard from about 130 foreclosures in the township in the big recession of 2008. And that mobile home park emptied out, and that mobile home park down there emptied out. The one up here is pretty much all new units now, pretty well filled. So we got that back. But there's roughly the same number of units in the piece of the one that we own down on by Oak Hill. And that one's in the process of updating. So I don't think we'll be quite back where we were, but we should pick up probably, I'm guessing, at least half the distance from where we were. And we lost roughly about 40,000 a year. So I'm cautiously optimistic the census will give us at least about 20 grand more back, because it's adjusted for your population count. The last time I looked at it, I don't know what it is now, but it was roughly about $89 a year for every person in your census count is kind of what happens. So I think we'll pick that up. The main purpose of all of this is to make sure everybody understands that this township and all the things we've been doing for the last 25 years really comes out of that gray block of money. If we don't keep that machine cranking, there will be some real dramatic steps, because when I started here, the first message with the township that I did with Beth Steele was, we got all done and I said, you mean to tell me we only have 20 grand extra in the whole budget for the year? And she looked at me and said, I never thought of it, but yeah, you're right, that's it. Well, 20 grand a year on $1 million budget, you don't do anything. So I just want everybody to understand why this is important, and I wanted to bring up something that I think will help our revenue going forward. I believe we're going to see, starting this year, some significant growth. I believe that because Danielle's getting kind of buried in her work, and we've had a lot more interest in the parcels along Dixie Highway and the byway, which is what we want to have happen. And I think the township is, and I've talked to Barry, we need to get moving on what we want to do in the township. The first project to get done is the building of the new station and the MSP detachment over there, and trying to get the MSP to commit to a long lease on the building so that they don't end up disappearing on us. And also to try and get some additional development towards what we were calling the M1 kind of concept for the ORVs. If we can get the anchor started on the property, I think the long-term strategy will be that that property will have the potential to develop revenues as some of these might disappear, and new revenues to put us in very good stead for decades, as far as I can see down the road. So we need to figure out what is it we're going to do here. And there's two things. As you know, I've been working for about a year with George Cullis on trying to do the sewer district, because Shannon Industries in Holly needs a sewer connection, and he's willing to wait for us to put the big pipe in. The problem's been the sewer district, when we started talking to Genesee County, was supposed to be $6 to $8 million, which George and I figured for 4 people that we know need sewers was a walk in the park, and we could finance it day one, or pay for it day one. Well, as it went on, it got up to 110, and we kept on telling them, you cannot make it that big. There's no way Holly Township or Groveland Township is going to sign on to a bond note that big, because if anything goes wrong, they're instantly bankrupt. And then they throttled it back to 35, and George and I talked some more, and I said, we need to make sure they understand what we said in the beginning. We're not signing on to 35 million either, because that's bankruptcy if anything goes wrong. So the discussion we had with them about 2 weeks ago was, you need to show us a plan that works for the sewers, that does not require the township to sign on to $17.5 million each, because it's not going to happen. And if it's not, we need to put that to rest and figure out what we're going to do with our property. Now, I agree, if they can find a way that either the county or economic development wants to kind of hold the bulk of that note, which is what we suggested, we would be interested. They said, give us a couple weeks, we'll come back with some final figures of what we think it will cost and how it would be handled. And that's great, as long as we repeat it again. We're not signing on for a big bond that we can't do. So we should have an answer on that, again, cautiously optimistic, in the next 2 or 3 weeks as to whether or not the project's going to go or not. It would be better if there's a way to do it because of a couple of things. The DNR very much would like to be on the sewers instead of putting $2 million in septic systems that, again, will have to be replaced. Oakland County Parks would like to eventually tie into the sewers for Groveland Oaks. And we know that Shannon would like to be on a larger pipeline, and it would facilitate the growth in our corridor coming down Dixie, turning on Grange Hall and going over to I-75 for whatever projects she wants to do and for what we want to do on the property. It's environmentally better for the communities. It's also leaves you a lot better options from a developmental perspective, because you don't have to set aside rooms or area for septic systems. We did have them do a preliminary analysis on doing treatment plants, which we would have to probably end up owning. And the treatment plants were more than what our share of the sewers would have been. So that's not an option either. So here's what's going to happen in the next few weeks. This is the biggest part that's going to affect our money long-term for decades. We're either going to figure out how to do the sewer line and not get jammed up by it so that we don't have to worry about being bankrupt. And that will facilitate the growth for us that we need to do. Or we're probably going to have to throttle back some of what we want to do on the property. The bulk of the value of the township's property is on the Grange Hall face and on the I-75 face. And I've talked to Barry. He said, if we have to, we'll develop them with septic systems. He said, you need 2NS sand. He said, I got bundles of it, and it's being overcharged right now. We can take care of doing the septic systems. But obviously, we won't be able to have the same density. And if you remember the original drawings that I had from the planning department at the county, we had shown kind of conceptually what we wanted to see on Grange Hall wrapping around I-75, and then the M1 stuff down by Mavis and where the fire station's going. But there was a big piece of the property in the middle that was just labeled staging area or future projects. That would be the hardest to develop in certain kinds of uses if we don't have sewers. There's 2 issues that have come up, and this is where I think our fallback plan is important. If we want to develop that and we can't do it with sewers, one of the options I think we can bring forward to the community at a public meeting is whether or not we want to modify our stance on marijuana now that it's recreationally and medicinally allowed. And that is, we've had some people have asked for it, said, why don't we do it? And we've said, we don't want to have the retail outlets. We don't really have good places to put them. There's potential problems with retail outlets, and we don't really have a police department we're directly in control of to deal with that. So we said, we're just going to sit back and watch. But I have also talked to the Orion Township supervisor. They took kind of a similar approach and said, we don't want any retail outlets either. There's just too many problems that happen. If you talk to some of the supervisors that have them, most of them will tell you the nightmare story that they have, okay? Because it's not just your residents that are going there. It's whoever wants to go there, right? But Orion took the stance and said, we'll allow growing and testing only. So they took an industrial park, and they got about 6 big investors that are putting up huge warehouses. And they've limited it. You can't put signs on there with the marijuana leaves and all that stuff. They're very nondescript. And he said, I've had absolutely no complaints, 0 problems. And one person who said he thought it was great. And we've got our first couple of tenants going in. And I didn't realize this, but the way they've licensed them for growing this, it's a license, I believe, of $5,000 a year for 1,500 plants. So he's got one that's 100,000 square foot warehouse. That guy's gonna have way over 1,500 plants, but he's gotta buy one of those licenses that's renewed every year for 1,500 plants. He said, we got over 100 grand the first year on these couple of warehouses, and we will easily get $250,000 a year on licensing fees. In fact, we're going to build in Oregon, their whole new township office, and the entire funding for it's going to be those marijuana licenses. So I think we could accommodate the residents who think, marijuana is legal, we should have some part of it, and just modify it and do what Orion did. Orion's supervisor said, I'll be happy to take you through and show you the facilities and answer any questions you have. So when we get all done with the budget, I'd like to go over there and sit down with him and go through his facility and see what it's like. But he had 0 negative, all positive. And my thought is, if the sewers don't work out where we can't get them without a commitment that we can't live with, I think with or without, that might be a very viable use for what's on the inside of the township's 88 acres over there to generate some money going forward.
That would be zoned appropriately already.
Well, we're going to do the whole thing into PUD, planned unit development, so we can make that part of it industrial zoning and carry the warehouses in there if we decide to do that, because we got to move the whole thing to PUD anyway. I think that's an excellent opportunity for us to get some money.
You don't need a large septic field to cover.
And that's right. You got a lot of plants growing, but not a lot of people in there. So and that's exactly what, when I asked Barry about it, he said, yeah, that will take much to take care of that.
The labs.
Yeah. So I think that's a good opportunity unless somebody feels that's something we shouldn't even bring up. But I think that's something we could bring up to the public at a regular meeting and say, this is something we think we could foster, jump on and take care of it. Not only that, it's going to add $29 million for the warehouses to the state equalized value in Oregon. That means another $29,000 a year, roughly, to 26, 7 or something like that for the township, and 3.5 times that for the fire department. So if,
Yes, I vote yes.
and you take a joint to that, right?
We'll go inspect it all the time.
So my point is, I think we have a way to get from where we are today to sustain most of this revenue and to be able to plug the holes that are going to develop over time on some of them and increase the revenue for the township with, again, like we've done on all of this 344 without going to the taxpayers and asking them for money. So I know it's a long-winded explanation, but I think it's critical unless anybody feels that this idea isn't worth pursuing. Post the budget meeting, that's what I would like to do so that we can get some of this stuff moving as quickly as possible.
I think it's well thought out.
Yeah, I do too.
I like it.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind going with you on the tour,
Same
because
here.
I've seen some of
Me
those,
too.
Okay.
as a medical professional,
Yeah.
and yeah, I'd like
You
to
might
see
have
what
to
they've
do it
got
in
going
a
on.
couple, because if 3 or more go, it's technically a public
Oh,
meeting.
okay,
thing.
then that's all right.
So I can find out.
Yeah.
We did have one other guy that approached me. They are growing medical marijuana in huge warehouses on agricultural property out in the boonies somewhere. And I talked to the, I don't know if it was the mayor or the clerk or somebody in this small town that they're in. It's 200 people. And she said, no, we think it's great. They contribute to our feed the poor and all that kind of stuff. But what they have is massive greenhouses on agricultural property, fenced in.
Yeah.
And then they have a security guard there all the time. And I think that would be frankly disastrous to our township, because now I think you look like a bunch of impound yards in a prison system or something. And I just don't think that works for our community, whereas putting warehouses back in that property is away from everybody. And it gets us the same event, I think. So I just wanted you to know I've had discussions with some people because I get people calling me all the time. Are you guys going to allow marijuana or not? Can I grow it in my house for myself? You can do whatever you want, the state says. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. So if we're agreeable, I'll look into this after we get done with our budget meeting and all that stuff. Not this meeting, after we adopt the budget. So that's the only precursor part I wanted you to get to. I wanted you to understand all the money to get anything done comes out of that great bucket. It's not forever. we need to make sure we're dealing with it and trying to address which parts might drop off. And when they do something to fill the holes with it, well, we got issues for that. Moving into the rest of it, I put down, when I solicited everybody, you got anything you want on the agenda? I think I have everything everybody asked for on here. And I guess the one I probably should jump ahead of on would be the LED conversions for the office, because Kevin was good enough to come in and fix the light that was burned out over Angela's desk. And it turned out not to be the fuse, it was the ballast that was bad, right? So he pulled the ballast out and converted it to LED for us. And it's very nice. It's bright, what I call daylight white. It makes all the other ones look like they're yellow. So I called an electrician. It's Dale, I can't think of his last name now, that was running for for treasurer. Kramer, yeah, nice guy. Came out and I said, can you give us a price on converting the rest of the main bullpen area in our offices so they all look the same? And he said, well, there's two kinds of LEDs. You can get the LEDs like you did where you took the ballast out, but really you can get them that'll run with the ballast, then you don't have to change anything, just plug the bulb in. And he said, I'll get you in touch. Very nice guy about that. I'll get you in touch with the wholesaler. He called him right while he was at my office, told him how many lights we had in the hall and our offices in the bullpen area. And he said, send them a quote for all of these to be LED bulbs. He said, I don't want anything, he'll bill you direct. And he can turn in a credit. They're roughly $6 a tube. But you get up to $2.90 DTE energy credit for putting them in. So the whole damn office is only going to be a couple $100. So I intend to order those as soon as I get the quote on it. That was the one project. Other than that, if somebody wants to go over, I know, Jim, some of these came from you.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about any of them before we get into the
I
actual
would like
budget?
to, let's please go back to the LEDs.
Talk louder, please.
I'd like to go back and talk about the LEDs. I'm a huge proponent of eliminating the ballast spot altogether. So for maintenance in years to come. So whatever we can do in that regard, the little bit of extra time on the install will be far worth it as the ballasts continue to fail.
That's a valid point, except that Jim Kramer's point was that how many of you had failed? And I think that's the first one we had. And he said, when you put the LEDs in, they draw so much less current, the ballast won't heat up and burn out as fast either. And if I understand what you're saying. If we do that, then I have to get somebody to come in and pull all the ballast out and pay somebody to do all that. If we leave them in, we could just pop them in on a step ladder and get it done.
I leave it up to you, since that is something I know a fair amount. I pay roughly $55 a fixture for that service, including the bulb, to pull out the ballast, rewire it, and install a new bulb.
Per fixture. Okay, I'll see what he says when he gives me it. I'll give you a call.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not even sure it's a board decision because it's not a ton of
It's
money.
not gonna be a ton of money.
Yeah, but that would be my professional recommendation.
Okay.
Let me scan some of these other things. So.
Those might not all be yours, Jim. I tried to put everything
Capital
anybody sent me.
enhancements, Jim.
Yeah, so there are a few things now that are coming to mind, plus I brought a list with me. So I would like to see enhancements made to the township. And I'm just gonna ramble a little bit for dialogue here. And I certainly want people to banter back and forth. One of the more important things to me is the presentation overall of the township. We are getting slightly dated. I think as more and more interest in our township grows, I'd like to see initiatives such as floor covering changes, wall covering, paint changes, housekeeping issues, potentially maybe some new storage areas that remove some of what I perceive as clutter. But in particular,
You're talking about my desk now, right?
no.
That's why I don't let them in my office.
Yeah, I'm a neat freak too, sorry. In particular, I think this room is going to start to see a lot of valuable interaction. not only between our community, but as developers come in and other people. So things, and please chime in, people. I'd like to see better audio visual presentation now. That might be a large screen TV or two of them put together. So if somebody comes in, they can put a jump drive in.
I can show you what Springfield did. They kind of updated theirs nice.
That'd be great. But updates is the operative word. Even to the point where you might see me come here with my laptop to our board meetings simply because I don't want to waste a paper this thick. Something as silly as putting a few dedicated devices and ports in here.
Oh.
When I say devices too, I mean outlets if somebody needed to plug in. We're zooming more and more. I suspect that that's going to be a little bit the wave, of the future that's going to continue. So I'm not a specifier of this. I'm throwing out to the board that I think it's time. I have a sense of humor, everybody. So let's move up to the 2000s and update this place.
The 80s even.
I was being nice. I can't put a dollar value on it, but I suspect $20,000 is more than enough to update this room. I could certainly come back and ask some of my peers in interior construction what they think. But to hazard a guess, I can tell you, Liz and I just bought the mother of all televisions, and it was just a little bit under $2,000. I don't know, perhaps Vinny can pop in on this. If we were to have two TVs on that wall or wherever, wherever it may go, maybe this wall or one of each, we just need to think it through and get it done. So that was
We're talking about a permanent camera system too for the Zoom meetings.
yes, I am.
Probably,
Oh,
assuming the Zoom don't die when everybody goes back, that's probably a good idea.
I think Zoom is here
Yeah.
for a while,
I think it's stuck.
and,
Well,
I think it's stuck now.
yeah, I
Because
do.
people would rather just zoom in than come to the meeting.
sure.
I do believe that, and it makes it more accessible for all kinds of people as well. And, that TV up there,
That hasn't been on in years.
right, and it's got a VCR tape
Yeah.
thing on
It's
So
not a
It's an
beta.
antique.
Yeah.
It's not a beta machine.
I just don't want to take it off because it's some
Yeah,
holes.
Yeah. There are other things related to this topic that I want to throw out there. Some of it, Kevin, may end up being discussed in the fire department budget. However, I would like to see, bear with me, everyone, for my notes, a few other things. So, card readers
Oh, yeah.
are becoming a little bit of importance. Their price has gone down. I like the idea. Yeah, we are a very friendly, semi-rural community, but I would like, no pun intended, the security of knowing when somebody comes in and comes out. We don't know what the future has in store in terms of hire and fire or disgruntled community members that decide that they want to come into the office when they shouldn't. They're relatively inexpensive. I actually was expecting to have a value today per, but I would recommend at the new fire station and certainly here that we have card readers.
Well, the state police already said they require that for their side.
Perfect. Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
And I think that's really of
So it
value.
wouldn't be that hard, probably just to.
And when I looked into this,
System, right?
probably, I don't know, maybe 14 years ago, because for doing a payroll, we thought that would be a good option. The concern was at that time to do both stations was going to cost us about 25 grand, but I know the prices have come down. I agree wholeheartedly. The concern I had was, say if you swipe in, but no one swipes out. So now, how do I know what time you left? So it was like, now I have another system I have to monitor in addition to the two I have to do now. And it's like, I didn't really see the value. I do see the value of, I can turn someone's card off, where now we have to change the code and then tell everybody what the new code is. And then that's very easy to tell a disgruntled employee, hey, what's the code? Oh, it's, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I do see some value. At the time it was prohibitively expensive for me to
Well,
change.
maybe to get some exposure to it, then when we send out the bid for the new fire station, and that's probably an easy time to say, what would it cost to add some ports that we could segment for the fire station on the system the state police have got to have, right?
I would not want to do station 2 until we did station 1. I'd rather make it the same system, obviously.
Uh-huh.
And that's probably something I would have brought up anyway.
Yeah.
And, I forgot what it is.
Well, I don't know, I don't know, do you think we need to hear though? I don't see us using it here.
What's the card swiping system?
Absolutely,
I think it should be
absolutely,
here.
yeah.
Because you can do
Yeah.
payroll right off of that card.
Yeah.
But
Well,
again, do they
no,
spike
no.
up?
Yeah, not so much the hourly, but I like the safety factor, very much.
I was gonna say the hourly isn't,
Yeah, and also, you know what, I know that some of these ladies come in when we're closed and are
Mhm.
working. And
Especially
I
this year.
think that's a big deal. I mean, they're paid for a set amount, but a lot of you guys do over and above. And that is our evidence. That is our way of saying, yeah, that's,
Does
thank
that
you.
end up operating the
Leave it.
entrance door then in lieu of the key? Is that it?
You can.
You can, that's the way it used to be. It's that way with a lot of schools.
Uh-huh.
Like you have a badge and you just have to wave it in front of the plate
Right.
and it'll unlock the door. It doesn't have to, I don't know how you could set it up so that it would be like a double thing. You have to do that and then put in your key. I don't know.
There's one.
Or you could do, you have to swipe and put in the code.
Yeah.
Right.
And then that unlocks it. So if someone stole
That's
your
what they have
car,
at
you
school.
can't get in.
And get it anyway.
It's also important too for janitorial people,
Right.
exterminators, whoever we may quote trust, but we need to know when they're here. I think it's a very, very valuable tool.
I'm gonna say something on this, just so you get a mindset. When I looked at a lot of these things, I think they're okay. This is my thought. This year is a huge budget because of a huge amount of road work we're getting done. I think a lot of these things, like the updates for card readers or the audio visual stuff, I think this would be a good year to maybe kind of analyze what it is we think we need and get an idea what the cost is. And you'll see when we go through the budget, because next year, I think we're gonna be really in Grady City. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but you gotta remember.
You have more flexibility next year than this
Yes,
year.
we're getting caught up this year on road work that we had backlogged for last year, that the Lapeer gravel operator sold out the material before we could get it on the road from us. And we're getting Barron Road done, we gotta pay for the other half. So that, along with trying to get the sewer and the project started there, I just think leaves very little time for some of these other niceties that we want. But I think it would be very worthwhile at looking at next year because, and I'll get into some of these other projects. I've got something else going that's gonna free up a good hunk of money for us going forward. So I think it would be easy to say, we need 20 or 30 grand to do something and you'll get it done. Yeah, Kevin?
Well, let me work on the card access.
Because that'd be the first one anyway.
Those would be those stations, and then we can just say, okay, we need these 3 buildings done. And that way, it's not like the phones, when we redid the phones, we saved quite a bit of money changing over to the new system. And then you find out that, what do you mean you have 7 lines? I only know of 2, and things like that. And so I wholeheartedly agree with, and we've been pretty steady, and Burdess loves those little projects, so I can save him on those. I'll volunteer.
DeLorean man?
Huh?
DeLorean man?
So I'll volunteer him to work on that. And we'll just get an estimate anyway, just to see what.
Well, I think that's a good way to do it. First, we'll break it in on the new building. We got to put it in for the MSP anyway, but to do the rest, I'm saying, I think we would be better at pacing ourselves just because I don't want to get tied up in a lot of little household projects here when I think there's some bigger stuff that's going to be is already extremely time consuming.
Bob, everyone, just a couple of other things a little bit lighter. As you know, I've got a little bit of education and sustainable initiatives. I believe this is going to be virtually cost neutral, but certainly not expensive. I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of sustainability program here within the township. That's advertised to the community. Recycling, part of that would be switching to LED lights, just to set a little bit of an example, any new construction in municipal buildings is typically built to what we call LEED standards, which are pretty high. So I just simply feel it's a feel-good thing. It probably would save us some energy as well. The LED lights will certainly save.
Yeah, they're much cheaper than what they were originally.
Yeah.
And we have done stuff though. We've like taken all the street lights we have and converted them to LED.
Yeah. Similarly, and I do not know the economics of this, maybe it's of value to no longer use the water cooler and try to switch to reverse osmosis of some kind. Just little things along these lines.
I could be wrong, but I thought we had that water cooler because when we use the water here, nobody liked it.
Yeah, and that's why I
Water's
suggest
really bad.
Even with
reverse
our,
osmosis, so we have palatable
Well, that I don't
water.
know.
it's come down substantially as well, and others think RO is not.
So those are just some of the things that were on my mind. One of the things that's on the list is the safe room modifications, but we'll talk to that in the due course.
That's a case of something I think would be better put off until next year because I think I would like to do that because there are no shortages of nuts around now. But I just think that's going to be some expense. Huh?
I'm right here.
And along those lines, I was thinking just from the last meeting, you said you had the contractor's information for all the trees along Barron coming down and the wood chips. Why can't we, and I did mention it to Patty, why can't we use them here?
Actually, what I did is when they take those trees down, I called them on it because Kevin and I talked about this.
Okay.
The trees that come down, they first go to the person that gave them the right of way use
Right.
on it and ask them if they want the tree. And if they do, they cut it into sections and they leave it there for them.
Right.
The ones that don't want it or don't pick it up as the job's getting done, they normally grind them and take them away just to get rid of them. But I got Kevin in touch with the contractor that's doing it, and they're gonna end up leaving that wood for the fire department to do the wood chopping stuff. So we're gonna
Okay.
use it within the.
And honestly, if we talk to the guys, they're always looking for a place to dump them. They dump some in my yard, so if you tell them, but this is kind of like cleaner wood chips than what they usually use for a playground. Because
Well,
they just grind everything.
Even up in here, you know, we could desperately use a nice layer.
If you just talk to them and say, can you dump 4 loads? They usually say
They want to get rid of it.
yeah, they don't want to haul them all the way back to wherever they're working from and get rid of them, so.
But on Barron, it's kind of, you got to give the homeowner the first option to get what they
If
want.
we just tell them, hey, we could use, 4 loads, they'll probably drop them.
Well,
It's just not
I gotta have
today, they're gonna drop them. They'll get to
I
it.
gotta have 2 big poplar trees taken down this year, and I already told Kevin, when they take it down, if you want, I'll have them leave the tree there and they can take the trunk parts away when they get all done, because they'll cut them up usually about 18-inch, I think, or 24-inch sections.
Well, we've had some where they just leave them like 6-foot lengths, and I just pick them up on tractor.
Okay. Can I ask, what was the furnace repair comment? Because we just had the furnaces changed.
You know what, when I reviewed.
Other than the guy that put them in is kind of a putz.
Well, here's what I saw. When I was here doing some infrastructure research, I noticed the acoustical ceiling tile on the lower level stained. The reason it's stained is the exhaust pipes for the condensate from the high efficiency furnaces, they're leaking. You can.
Oh, really?
They were never glued?
They were never glued properly. So it's kind of a minor thing. And just, it goes back with me being a neat freak and it shows to the community, let's fix it and replace the ceiling tiles. That's not gonna be, I'm gonna be shocked if it's $1,000.
That's something we could do.
I mean, I'm not committing your resources, but you get the idea.
Fireman usually needs me, but that's okay.
I told you, just when I ask you, doesn't mean I expect you to do it. I'm asking you if you know who can do it.
That's
That's
what
what
I
I'm
asked
asking.
3-4 times, like, okay, I better go fix that.
Okay.
See, that's where the card reader comes in. How many times does chief thank you? Yeah, send us a bill. Yeah.
Daily.
Okay. Well, let me go over a couple of the other items that are on there. I didn't want to cut you off.
I'm good. Thanks.
There was a couple other items I had in there. I noticed one of them was marketing costs for the property. I don't know that we'll be able to get to that this year. It may be next year, but I think once we get the road solidified, Warden Road in our property, so we have the direct access to the ORV park.
Right.
And once we get that fire station built, I want to start trying to market the M1 concept for the manufacturers. Nothing would make me happier than get 4 or 5 manufacturers to put their test and tune garage there. But we might have to put some dollars into marketing that. Tom Z, the promoter that put on the Four Fest last year and the year before, says, I know all those guys, I can help you get into all of them. We may have to see if he's helpful enough to be able to get something for doing that for us, but we may have some marketing costs. I just don't know if we're ready to do that yet, but I wanted to just give you a heads up. I think we will have to take some infrastructure dollars on some kind of first-class advertising to get the people we want in there. I don't think you can walk into Honda, Ford, Chrysler, and GM and say you need a test and tune facility for your off-road vehicles and not have a very polished presentation for them. So that's just kind of an FYI for you right now. The other one is I'm this close to finishing the deal with Levity Company over on the Kurtz Pit that I believe in the next, because I saw the draft of the agreement yesterday from Will. I answered a couple of his questions. He's finishing it up. Levy wants to mine the last 2 pieces of property that are on the Kurtz property that haven't been mined. And in exchange for agreeing to do that under their consent decree, I told them I want 5,000 tons of road gravel every year for every year that you're left on that pit. And that's for 2 reasons. I want to incent them to get the damn project done so that the mining is done there. And their schedule, I think, is roughly that if they do it, they can get going and get it all done by 2028, which would be basically 7 years to get it finished. And they want to do it, so we've agreed after discussions and meetings at Will's office that, yeah, we'll give you 5,000 tons a year, which is enough to gravel roughly 3 miles. But they don't deliver anything, they make this stuff. So I had to ask Barry, would you be willing to pick it up and spread it with the road commission, because he's gonna do the stuff we're getting from the Lapeer garage that they never delivered last year. And the road commission said, well, less people we got to deal with, the better it is. And Barry said, yeah, we'll do it. It's going to take probably roughly $135,000, $40,000 a year worth of road graveling projects and get it down to somewhere around 40 grand for the trucking on it. So that's the reason I said, I think next year we got a lot of wiggle room that we can work with. And these other projects should be far enough down the road that we can address those things. So that's just so you know where I'm envisioning, because I know, probably don't think I actually know where I'm going, but I really do have to actually know where it is.
So Bob, can I interrupt?
Sure, you're not interrupting, go ahead. It's
Well, what I
a work
hear,
session.
I just want to clarify that I heard you correctly, and that is, we would have been spending
35,000
135,000
roughly to do 5 months, or 3 months.
to do our, okay, and by getting 5,000 tons per year, that can do 2 miles for free. Oh, you said 2, you meant 3.
Sorry, that's 3.
I said 2.
Yeah,
2,
500 tons.
5,000 tons per
It's
year.
roughly 1,600 tons a month.
Okay,
Give or
so, and we'd be getting that for free, all we have to do is actually pay for the cost of spreading it around?
Pretty good deal, huh?
Yeah, so, then that could
See
happen
what
as
I gotta
early
do when
as,
nobody thinks I'm sitting there?
that could actually happen as early as next year.
It could happen this year.
It could happen
They
this
want
year.
the agreement done now. He's called me 3 times. Where's the agreement? I said, well, I've given it to, I'll tell you what the last 2 issues are. Will was concerned, one of the things I wanted was some acknowledgement that when it's all done, our property that abuts the Kurtz property will have some kind of a cohesive view towards what ultimately gets developed there. And it's kind of nebulous, but I wanted it at least memorialized in the agreement that it's not just going to be done blindly, because it could be when the township's done, we might say, well, that back half of our property that's there, we'll sell it to whoever you sell your lake to, and maybe they make a subdivision around it. I don't know. We just want it to be cohesive when it's done. And Will was hunting for what kind of language should I put in there for that, and I kind of said, I don't know what else we could put in that I didn't already read in the agreement. And the second issue was the amount of the reclamation bond. Kurtz or Levy wants to keep the bond at $400,000 a year, which is what it originally was back when the agreement was first done in 1980, I think. Okay. Well, if you recall, when when American Aggregate owned half that pit, Levy, who owned the other half of the pit, said, that stuff hasn't been reclaimed 2-to-1. And why that pit ever got 2-to-1 approval instead of 3-to-1 slopes, I have no idea, but that's what it was. And they did an aerial overfly and said it's actually 1.8. And US Concrete said, well, that's all reclaimed. I said, that ain't reclaimed. That's just you hogged out the dirt till you got to the limit. And then all that other crap just grew up over the next 30 or 40 years, right? That's not reclaimed. And so Levy took the information, gave it to me. I wrote American Concrete and said, that is not reclaimed. That stuff that's 1.8 is not 2.0, and you need to clear that slope off and contour it the right way before it's finished. So Levy actually used that in negotiations with American Concrete to say, that's gonna cost you $1 million to fix that side of that leak. And so we can't pay you that much for it. And whatever happened, I don't know, but they ended up buying out Michigan Concrete or US Concrete because it was the only piece of property US Concrete had up here, and they didn't want it. So when they sent the bond and they said, we want to keep it at 400,000, I said, you told me it was $1 million to fix the mess. That's how you negotiated the price. So I went to Tim Giudici, our engineer at Orchard Hills, and said, I want you to give me the price to fix all that. And I think he came back with, my memory serves me right, $1.1 million. Okay. So I told Will, that's the number I want in for the reclamation bond, or something close to that, because $400,000 is a joke. So we'll get through that dance somehow with something that we think we can live with. And I think when it's all done, the benefit to the residents will be the truck traffic will still go out the way it does on Hawley Road, okay, or Wharton Road, and it will have an expedited schedule so that there should be an end in sight about 2028. The whole thing should be done, and the mining will be done on that piece of property. And I'm sure the people that do live there will be happy. And in the meantime, we will get road gravel for our township for 8 years, I think, because I think it'll take them hell to finish it. So I think that puts us in pretty good shape going forward, because there's a big hunk of money we would normally spend every year. We try to do 3 miles a year. This year is going to be bananas, because if we get the load from them and we get the money that was the dirt that was supposed to be here last year that Lapeer sold from us, we're going to have 9 miles of road getting gravel. That's almost, it's like a fifth of all the roads in the township, roughly. So, and we're going to pave that road. So there should be a lot done this year on the roads.
I know this is maybe putting me on the spot, but what portion of the pie would you say that would affect? I mean, is that going to make the gray portion bigger? It's not really, it's sort of like we're saving money, it's not bringing money in, but it's
you can put it in here where you want, but it really is, it's a non-taxing issue
it's not
for
a revenue.
resident. It's a new revenue.
Well, it is a revenue, because it's.
For us, it's a revenue of
Yeah,
about 90 grand a year, yeah.
If you put value to what they're giving us, it's a
right.
revenue.
That's what I was thinking.
So the gray area.
So
It'll be the gray area.
that does sort of make the gray area bigger.
For a while, not forever,
Right.
but it gets, what I wanted to do is get it to the point, I would like it where we don't have any more active operating gravel pits here.
Sure.
We got rid of Leone's behind the mountain, we got rid of Stoller's next to it, Tolliver's is done. If these other pits, none of them have a huge amount of time left on them. They're all getting relatively close to the end. So if we could get that one done, the only real active pit we'll probably have in a few years will be the one across the street from it that's on the old apple orchard that Gibraltar Cement brought. And they didn't buy that pit to make dirt to sell it to anybody else. They bought it for what they call vertical integration. They just want the sand on that property to make the bags at Quikrete that they make in that plant for themselves. But it'll be there for a long time because we already had a consent decree. So does that answer the question?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's basically saying we're gonna have $90,000 to $100,000 more than what we thought we were gonna have. because of
Probably,
reduced
yeah.
expenditure.
Yes, not forever, but
But till approximately 2028.
yeah, that's what it is, because that's the schedule they've laid out of what they want to try and do. When I get the agreement done, you'll get the whole package, because Will and I have been going back and forth on this for a couple of months with them, and this, just so you're clear, this is an offshoot of killing that mining bill that they tried to jam through at the end of the year on the lame duck. When that died, this came alive. Okay.
But back in local control, which is what we want.
Yes, and it proves the point, because the point I made when I testified was, we need some control over what ends up happening when it's done. And if you don't have us involved in it, we have nothing we can say. So,
Bob, what line item does that
Totally.
change in the appropriations pages?
in the,
Maintenance road.
it would be under road maintenance is normally where we have it, where we got 240,000 in there this, or I had, we'll
Okay,
get to it, but I had 240,000 in there because I had the 200 grand in Lapeer gravel that they sold out from us that varies. He said he's been having it delivered during the winter so I could stockpile it. And I put 40 grand in there so that if we get this done this year, it'll pay for the trucking on it. So
okay,
that line item budget would go from 240 to 40 a year.
okay.
And if it were not for that deal this year to do another 3 on top of the 6 we're doing, would have been 370,000 instead of 240.
But it normally wouldn't be 200. It would
No,
normally
the
be
200 is
one-
the catch-up that we did last year that
Yeah.
didn't get delivered.
So it would normally be about 140.
About 135, 140, yeah.
Okay, so this year is an anomaly, but next year you would anticipate if this all goes through, it would only be 40.
Mhm.
All right, I understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, good. Okay, that's most of what I had here. Now I'll tell you what I put together, and I do this every year. I ask everybody what they want on this agenda, and then I spend more time with Patty because Patty is the one who keeps the personnel stuff and the HRA deposits and all that stuff. So I put what I think it is, and then Patty tries to keep me honest if I make a mistake. Fair enough? Yes. So most of those numbers I had, and we'll go through them item by item so we can agree or disagree. And I know, Teresa, you came back after you gave me the original numbers on 2 or 3 and said, I think we should be this. I don't know if I had time to get those last ones in. We can fix them here today.
Okay.
But there's,
I want to go off a little bit on what Jim was talking about moving us into the future. And my thing is going to be the website.
okay.
We really, really, really need to make that more user-friendly, better, on demand. That's going to be my, and I don't want to wait a year. We need to start working on that, even if it's quotes, and we bring them as they come, and we find the money as we get them. It needs to happen.
Do you want to try and line up some people that you think are susceptible to that so we can take a look at something?
As far as, yeah, you mean
For-
website builders, is that,
Mhm.
yes, yeah, there's
Yeah, like-
actually
it's
a
like
couple of.
GoDaddy and people like that, right?
Well, actually, probably I would reach out to some of the townships that I've
Yeah.
looked at their sites
Okay.
and say, who did it?
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, West Bloomfield comes to mind.
Well, we use a company, Revise works solely for townships and government organizations' websites. The company we use. So we
The one
would,
we're using
the
now?
one we're using now works solely with government agencies. So we would have to kind of figure out what would work with them too. They might have a program we can talk through.
Right, right.
Okay.
But just, yeah, look at the different ones and the user friendliness and how they can, and how do they make their documents on demand happen? Please.
They don't, we put our phone on.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, as far as how we can make that happen and, more timely, whatever that, maybe it's manpower, I don't know.
Yeah, well, we need to find
But,
out,
yeah.
I understand, we need to find out what you think we can do, and then we need, because
Right,
a lot of that gets done by the ladies in the office. We need to ask
and
them,
that's why
does
I'm,
this work for
and,
you?
well, but that's why I'm saying, maybe it is a time thing, and if it's a time thing, then maybe we need to address that. I'm good with that, I think that needs to happen.
Okay.
I'll piggyback on that because the website has been a little, it's been on my mind as well. And part of the Township Governance Academy, which I was enrolled in about 1.5 years ago, and I'm working my way through the entire coursework. There is a final project at the end. And throughout the classes that I've already been taking, it's sort of just come to me over and over. I think I need to focus on the website, and make it more up to date, user friendly, and so on. So I will be happy
That'd be
to.
great.
So capstone project for you.
Yeah, kind of like a capstone project, and with Janelle now enrolled, maybe, you know, she'd have to do some serious catching up to catch up. Because I've had a year and a half ahead of her, but, you know, it could take some time
Right.
to actually figure out which direction we want to
Janelle's
head
a
and get
quick study though.
quotes.
She's
And
a sharp lady.
yes, Janelle is. And so, you know, I think that would be something that maybe we could even involve her at some point if that's something that she's also interested in doing as a capstone.
Right.
Because it could take us a while to do this, right?
But
It's
we
not
need to
gonna
get the
happen.
ball rolling.
But exactly, yeah. And that's not gonna be free, that will be, you know, it will cost something, but I have no idea what.
Well, I think barring first of all, I say this, if there's something that comes up and we really feel this is important to get it done now, for whatever reason, right? It's not like we're destitute. We have a lot of money in the infrastructure fund. So my only thought is I don't want to go hog wild on 15 projects because there's several major ones we've got to get done this year. And if we find something like that, I think we can find the bucks for it. Typically what happens, you know, is when we do a budget, it's almost always got more money left at the end than what we thought. And it just happens the way things go. So I don't think we have to worry about it.
It's different from the rest of the federal government. They,
Yeah, let's just turn the printing press on, right?
it's always less than what they thought it was gonna be.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up before we leave the meeting here today, and you've probably talked about all these things, but for clarity's sake for me, I would love it if you could just say, hey, this is Bob's top 5 list of what you think the projects are that we're doing this year.
Okay.
That, you know.
I can tell you right now what they are. The
Okay.
sewer project,
Let me write these down.
finding out whether that goes or not.
Okay,
The second one would be the development of the township property, which includes moving the fire station MSP and trying to get the first tenants interested for the M1 kind concept.
okay.
Okay.
Right.
Those are the biggest ones, the road projects, because I can just tell you right now, after what happened last year, I got a feeling that actually getting all that gravel spread this year and the Barron Road project done is going to be a bigger hassle than I ever dreamt. It already has been. So those are the biggest projects I see. And to finish up these last days that we're doing now on the master plan, because as you know, Ben decided to retire after he took that vacation, and we got a plaque, by the way, before I forget. Danielle and I are gonna write a little letter to go with it. I really would appreciate it if everybody would sign it for Ben and send him his plaque. So I want to get that master plan done. We've had a little bit of a bumpy road with the new person. I think she's a sharp young lady, but stuff that Ben would know intuitively and answer me in a day on a quick email. It turns out being like a research and a project for her. And what happened at the beginning, as Patty and I noticed, we were getting an awful lot of bills for the master plan that we already paid for. So we had some come to Jesus calls.
And they paid off.
And they said, hallelujah. And the $1,800 bill turned out to be $700, I think. So we're kind of watching that in case we have to change something, but I would like to get that project done. It's very close.
Okay.
I've done my comments and Danielle is going to send them to Melissa, I think is her name, isn't it? Yeah. And
So that's
Or
4.
Michelle,
Yeah.
that's fine.
so what I had.
That's
to
at the
say.
end. Yeah. Sewer, township property, road projects, master plan. Anything else that comes to mind?
I'm trying to think right now.
I mean, you can add to it if you
Yeah.
think
Well,
of it, but.
because a couple of those incorporate other things.
Yeah.
The township property incorporates also trying to get the new M1 concept
the new
as well
tenants
as
and
doing,
moving the
the
fire.
weight mill is doing it. They're two different projects.
Yeah,
Plus the fire station, once
Okay,
we get
so
that
that's at
done,
5.
yeah, once we get that done, then I have to start up. I feel like, you ever see like commercials with Wildlife America where they got the bird that has to strut around with the big feathers and all the colors like a peacock? I feel that's what we're gonna have to do when we dance with the state police on a contract, okay? But that would be the top things I think we have to get done, because the sewer project and development is going to be, I think, overwhelming as we get going on it.
Okay. All right,
That's
thank
about
you.
it. So the other two things I just wanted to cover briefly is, I think that revenue projection I had was before we got that last $20,000. That's when I originally roughed out this thing here, so it's better than that. We have roughly $7.5 million in there. There's really about 3 million of that that's infrastructure money that we kind of set aside. And doing that sewer project will end up telling us whether or not we have to put some of that away for sewer connection or project money, or do we get to do some other things with it? So that's the reason I want to get that done, is that's a big hunk of money that we're setting on. At some point in time, it needs to be put into productive use for the township to either generate more money coming in or something.
Mhm.
That's significantly more money than we normally would need on the size for our community. Okay.
Is that 7.6 million, is that based on
That's those sheets you give us.
the sheets?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
that
it's
does
us and the
include,
fire department
I was
together.
gonna say, that does include $1 million in the fire department.
Yeah.
So township is 6.6.
Oh,
I'm sorry, let me turn this off. Okay.
It's just code.
here.
No, I don't know who it
Your
was, and I don't
pants
care.
are me.
Yeah, my pants are me. Yeah, there's like $1 million in there for the fire department. The township's budget is normally roughly about $1 million, and we agreed to keep a year in reserve, so that's another $1 million. That's $3 million that we have. And there's some other monies that are in construction stuff, but there's roughly about maybe 3.5 million that would be available for either guaranteeing the sewer project in a way that it doesn't jam up the township, or if not, then we would use some of that maybe for marketing the property, nowhere near that much, or
Right.
other projects that we could use money for.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
My intention is that the significant amount of that money has to be put back into the community for benefit.
Right.
I can't do it till I find out what happens on the sewer, and that's been like pulling teeth.
Yep.
Okay. So the other two things, the biggest things to discuss, I think, and we can go through the whole budget here, but I'll tell you what I did in the preparation of it. There's two items that I think need to be attended to. One of them is, I think Danielle is being buried alive in the
Mhm.
building department. And she needs some help, and God bless her, she never squeaks.
No, she.
Okay, and she has been in here when I've come in on, I'm sure you've seen it when you come in, because I know this year, we've all been in at night or on Fridays or Saturdays and stuff, or Sundays coming in. And I see her in here, and she's usually the next person in when I get here in the morning if I don't stop at the fire station first, okay? So she has been working her butt off, she never complains. Her desk looks worse than mine.
I got you both beat.
Yeah, you got the champion on it, Kevin.
I don't know, some days. Where did that go?
So I honestly think, because what we're seeing is all this increased demand on potential projects for the Dixie Byway, which we want. Because ultimately, that is going to translate into more dollars for the fire department and more dollars for the township to be able to do things with. So it's good, but I think we got to get her some help. In the past, we had another full-time person in here. If you recall what's happened, when we had the Great Recession of 2008 and 9, I eliminated 2 jobs and we froze pay for 5 years because the township took a big hit on its revenues. 11% of its constitutional and about 46% of its property values. So that's how we addressed those cost issues then. But we used to have, with the building we were having in the early 2000s, where we had more homes and stuff going in, we had another person that was helping. Patty has said, because we don't have an election this year, she really doesn't need Janelle full-time. And so what we think would be a reasonable solution is to make Janelle full-time. She's just an excellent person, very bright gal. You give her something to do, she gets it done quick, and she is accurate.
She's already here.
And she's already here. She would be willing to, well, I think you said as of April 1st,
Yes.
do full-time then. She's got some stuff she has to finish up. She
Yes.
teaches at U of M, I think, or Central
Yes.
Michigan. one of the two.
Yeah, CMU.
Okay, so I proposed in here, and the numbers, and I'll go through when we get there, that we make Janelle full-time, and what we want to do is the extra activities in the building department, and so what's happening is we're getting more building department money. I'm saying the reason we put half of Janelle's pay in there, and we could probably make it 2/3 if we wanted to, it gets the surplus money out of the building department. And if you remember, when builders want to complain, and they do this to every township, your fees are too high. It don't matter. I've talked to other supervisors. Don't matter where you're at. Your fees are too high. Okay, once they actually went to Lansing and complained on it, and I took our budget and said, here's my building department budget, it ain't making any money. Where do you want me to, who do you want me to charge if I don't charge that guy? And they said, no, you're fine, you're cool. So I took a look at our budget because we got a lot of building permits last year. And if we didn't do anything besides working Danielle to death, we'll probably make about 90 grand. So what I did was I portioned off half of her cost for her salary, benefits and everything into the building department so that the cash reserves on a similar year to the one we just had would be about 35,000. And then I called Ken Pelka, our auditor, and said, is that going to raise any higher? Because we could move almost all of it into there if we wanted to. He said, no, it's like if you have 100 grand, they're going to ask why, but 35,000, they're not going to change. And it does fluctuate from year to year. So if we needed to change it later, we could. But that's how I funded what I put into the budget on my sheets is half of Janelle's total cost coming out of the building department so that she can help support Daniel. I can't believe how many times.
And that job's also part, I just want to add, that job's also planning and zoning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And that's why I get
there'll
so
be a lot of
busy.
support.
There's a lot of site plans and stuff.
Yes, because we are doing more and more of that, with the classes that I've taken through, MTA. One of my questions you just jogged my, memory on is the amount that we charge for someone to have a meeting to meet with planning or BZA equivalent to what we pay out as a township to the people who sit on the.
Yeah, we raised all
Yes,
of
it
those
is.
Okay.
periodically.
Okay.
We've done it and raised them, and I think the fees are okay,
Yes.
which is
Okay.
why I think we're looking at a
Those fees are
surplus in
okay.
cash in there.
Okay,
It's just,
sure, okay.
I can't say enough good things about Danielle. She's just a dream to have out there. She is funny with a great sense of humor, and she just works without ever asking her to do anything.
She is, she is doing a good job.
Mhm.
Well, it's nice to come in here and see everybody laughing and smiling and.
Well, there's a huge difference in the office now. It's literally night from day.
Very nice.
So if I'm interpreting this right, having Danielle migrate to full-time really doesn't cost. us-
Janelle.
I'm sorry, Janelle, you're right. Doesn't really cost the township any money.
Well, what does, but the increase for the other half of her going full-time is gonna come out of the building department.
Yeah.
Which if you were to say, if you don't do anything, eventually you have to
So-
adjust your rates down. I don't wanna do
Yeah,
that.
no, I got it, okay.
So we would start her at 24,000. And then, depending on what the pay increase is, I would say we put that on there.
Different steps.
Yeah. And then she'll get her steps. She'll get, $400 $500 step-ups.
Mhm.
And then the benefit for her health care, which would be a family.
Mhm.
And we looked at that pretty closely, if you recall, when Carrie was leaving.
Yes.
And I know I've talked to Danielle, and she said, no, you guys are paying me more than Brandon was paying. And I know Brandon is upping some of their pay because I talked to my daughter-in-law yesterday when I dropped my taxes off. And they're doing some other things I don't understand, but that happens usually.
Patty, if something were to happen where Danielle was forced to leave,
Yes.
would we have sufficient redundancy here in the office? Could Janelle move right in, or would it be? a
Well, we
fast
would
learning curve?
hope that that would be able to happen. Janelle has been working with Danielle a bit on the actual building department.
Yeah.
I think Janelle could hold her own on the building if we had to do that. But there's a lot to learn as you go with the planning and
Yeah, no,
zoning.
I'm looking at redundancy, I think it's great.
And that's what that's the goal. We'll get Janelle and Danielle to where, Janelle can cover,
Yeah,
which we've been, like I said, we have been working on. There will be just a little more, Janelle's here pretty much all the time anyway. She ought to be,
Okay.
I will say this, in
Treated.
25 years I've been here, I don't think there's ever been as good a composite team of people in this office as we have right now. I honestly believe that. And it shows when you come in. Even Danielle said, I like coming to work in the morning.
and the other girls, when we're on the talk of the office support staff, the other girls, Danielle has 2 more 500 step increases. And Angela has all 4 hers, so.
But you said
And
she's
over
been
the
working out
next
real
year,
well
they'll
too,
all
right?
have.
It's all positive, right?
Angela-
Angela is a good
Angela has
asset.
been doing a fantastic job. I mean, as office administrator, she's phenomenal. And as my deputy, she signed checks once and, you know, she does a couple other minor functions as deputy treasurer. Her primary job is office administrator. She's doing a fantastic job of that.
I said, I think we're really lucky. We have
Yep.
had some good people, but I honestly think we got the best of the whole batch right now.
Like I said, it's really nice to walk in and see everybody.
Other people have said that too, when they come in, boy, it's nice in here now. Yeah, it is. Okay, the other thing I put in there, I'll tell you what I did. This time I put a 3% raise was my suggestion for the raises, and we can talk about it. I have to put something together, and that's what we did in the last meeting. I do think that's the right amount of money, and I'm gonna tell you why. The average, I've been here 25 years now, the average raise over the entire 25 years is under 3%. It's about 2.7 or 8, I think. I don't think anybody can say somehow we juiced up the pay scale all of a sudden and made it go out of line. It started out at, I think, 36 something when I started here. And when I first started here, because the township board asked me to be the supervisor when Don passed away, I said I was very close to retirement. I can't walk away from a 30-year pension to work for about a third of what I made or a quarter of what I made, right? And so they said, okay. So while I was there, I voluntarily took my pay and cut it in half for about 14 months. And when we had an economic situation, the crash in 2008, where the property taxes and that got slashed, I didn't hesitate to eliminate 2 jobs in the office. The work dropped down. We got rid of the overhead of 2 people, and we froze salaries for 5 years. Right now, we all thought we were going to have a huge hit on our revenue here this year from COVID. This is one case where our fiscal year being April instead of January happens to work to our advantage, because back at the end of the year, everybody was saying, you're gonna get $40,000, $60,000 hit. And if that had happened, I wouldn't have put any raises in this year. But it didn't happen, and we're actually up on revenue from where we were. And I think the prognosis for us going forward with the things we're doing is even better. This is not like working in corporate America where they can say, wow, you did a really good job with that crew. Here's the 8% raise this year. We can't ever do that. But I do believe that if you ask most of the residents in this township, I think they will tell you that I think we're giving them substantial value for what we're doing. We have generally a smaller crew, and I think our results are not just a little bit better, but light years better. And I think a 3% raise for this year is the appropriate amount, because we don't have a financial hardship. We have the money, and we checked some other ones. Some of them have, their raises didn't go through because they were in the midst of when we thought we were going to get hit, and they didn't want to put a raise in because they thought they were going to lose money, but found out they didn't. So I'm pretty sure they'll catch it up next year. George says they're going to make their year raises 2 years retroactive. And I said, that's nice, George, but I don't think you could do that for the officers. He said, no, for the officers, we'll just adjust it up amount, but for all the employees, they're going to go back 2 years because they couldn't agree. I don't know if you know, but there's some ugly stuff going on in the Township of Holly's board between, there's a couple strong conflicts, okay? I talked to Brandon and that, what's it, Rosalind called me back, and after she gave me the first number for them, she called back and said, no, it was 6%. And that's the number I told you, because that's why she called me back. But I asked my daughter-in-law yesterday, and she's a CPA, so I'm pretty sure she knows how to read percents pretty good. And I said, she told me that you got a 6% raise here. And she said, no, we didn't get that. I said, well, that's what she told me. And she said, Rosalind, yes. In fact, she called me back an hour after I had asked them, telling me the first number she gave me was wrong. And she said, no, I'll pull out the minutes. She pulls them out. She said, the clerk and the treasurer got about 4.3 plus they upped their pension contribution another percent. So it's kind of like 5.3. And she said, some of the other jobs we think we weren't paying our people enough, so they're bumping them up higher. And that might be so because both, excuse me, Angela and Danielle have said we're paying more than whatever they were making at either the Citizen or the place there. So I'm telling you, that's what I put forward. I think that's the right number. I think the only people that would actually complain about that are the haters. And I've said to everybody time and time again, I am not doing anything to appease those people because nothing is going to work, in my opinion. But that's my view.
I spoke with Addison Township, the clerk, and they're doing a 3% raise. She sits on the Michigan Township Association board. She also stated that across the board, most townships are doing 3% this
That
year.
reminds me, I brought our MERS calculation in here and the predication that they use, and here they tell you what assumptions they use. And they use 3% assumption on salary adjustments.
Cost of living is 1.3, where's the 3% coming from? I'm just
That's a fair
curious.
question,
Right.
but we don't normally go up when it's more than that anyway. So even if the cost of living went up 5 or 6, I doubt you'd see a township put that much through. So again, I look at it over, here's what it is. The pay for the job is less than twice what it was over 25 years. Okay, you know it's more than that.
Say that again, please.
The pay that the job currently pays compared to what it was 25 years ago when I started here is less than twice what it was. And you know, in 25 years, the COLA has gone up more than that. It has. You can look it up, but it'll be more than that.
Well, that's logical. Based on my personal experience, and I know I've had a conversation with each one of you separately, because I didn't want to come into this meeting and have, anybody be surprised at my thoughts. But based on my personal experience, I'm really struggling with 3%. And I know that the appropriation, the resolution, right? I had asked you the morning of the board meeting when I was, able to talk to you. If I agree to this resolution, does that mean I'm automatically agreeing to the raise? And and so I learned to know that is not the case. So here are my concerns. And I think you've talked about some of these things, but I'm open for suggestion, right? But I'm struggling with 3%, and here's why. In the past 6 years, it's always been 2%, and I think that I understand the 5 years that there was none, and the 1 year that there was 5, and so on. For you to give me an average of 2.7% per year, that I understand that makes sense if you look at.
And I went back to when I started in 96 or 7, whatever that was.
Okay. I think right now times are very uncertain. The COVID is still lingering, and the influence of the COVID is still lingering. And there's that uncertainty, and a lot of words we're hearing are cautiously optimistic, but the caution is, at some point, somebody's gonna have to pay back all this stimulus money, right?
Mhm.
Not everybody's getting the same amount of stimulus refunds as everybody else, but right now we might be just fine. But somebody at some point has to pay back that stimulus money, and are we anticipating that? And I do feel that we need to be able to speak confidently to all of the voters and explain why we decided that it's okay to give ourselves this raise. Those are my concerns. I did hear a lot of positive things today here at this budget meeting that lead me to a better understanding of our revenues going forward. I guess my question to you is, is there any other, I guess, are you open to anything other than 3%? Like, why 3 this year as opposed to 2 last year and 2 the year before?
It doesn't matter if I'm open to anything or not anyway, it's whether or not we are as a group, but let me answer a couple of those points.
Okay,
There's always something. What we found out is where everybody thought COVID was going to be the end of the world for municipalities, it's actually turned out to be bizarrely, from a cost perspective, better. And I understand that somehow, I've said this to my wife, I know they're giving us money now that we really don't need, but somewhere we're paying this back, okay? The problem is the way that it'll end up being paid back is it will be the same thing for everybody, and that the dollar value will get diminished because the dollar's value has been going down because the rest of the world says you're printing a bunch of it without anything backing it. We're all going to see that in a million different things, which will tend to probably make inflation higher in the future at some point. But I don't know how we could do this. I think if you use that analysis, I think we would be making that every year for something that comes up. We in good faith would have said, if we didn't get the money, if we got nailed the way we thought we were all going to get hit for COVID, I would have been the first one to say, we're not doing any raises this year. It's just the way it is. We're going to hunker down and make it through. And I've done it in the past. But we have a case where we've lowered the taxes 2 years in a row. The township's tax rate now is the lowest it's ever been in its history. And everybody in this office, I am proud of the way everybody in this team didn't say, well, I ain't coming in. When everybody closed their offices and sent them home, most of it just said, we're going to still pay you. Come on in. We got stuff we got to get done. Everybody was coming in at different times and pulling it to get us to where we are. And in our case, our finances are literally, I think, in better shape than anybody else. If that isn't worth, I guess, the extra 1% this year, honestly, I don't know what is. And I don't think you get people there if you don't give them some incentive. And the reason we've always done the raises to everybody, this is a small group of people. You can't pay one amount, another one a different amount. It gets real ugly real quick. And so I think if everybody gets treated the same with the same brush, everybody feels, well, whatever we're doing, we're all in it together. And I think it increases the camaraderie through it. So I have never had, and I have, other than the naysayers, I have had people talk to me and say, Bob, I think you're doing a great job. Thanks. I've never had one of them come to me, and damn it, you're just paid too damn much money. Because if you know me, I'm not trying to justify this, but I did not do this to get rich. I took a 65% pay cut at the peak of my earning years to be the supervisor here. And that's okay. I made that choice. But I get incensed when people start saying, we think you're just gouging us, take more. You don't know nothing. And so I think this is a fair raise for a team that has, I believe, performed exceedingly well and to the benefit of the residents. Now, if we turned around and said, and we want to raise your taxes so we could do it, that's a different story. But it's not. We've lowered your taxes 2 years in a row to the lowest in the township's history. And we've been doing all these infrastructure projects, and you can see a huge part of our money doesn't come. I can't think of another township that can make the same claims.
Well,
And sometimes I think you have to be able to say, look at the stuff we've done, and that's why I think it's fair. It's not, and I'm not asking us to have a huge increase. I think 3% is appropriate for how well the team has worked. But it's not me, it's all of us. And I'm just telling you, that's my position. I haven't done it in the past because I didn't think the time was right. But when you give them 2 years of tax reductions, the lowest rate they've had, you got the projects we got going, we got extra money we can see coming down the pipe. We're going to pick up some money on the census, whatever it is. Our property tax value should grow beyond our normal 4% rate going forward with the new bill that we go on. And what we end up doing with the township property will generate more money, I think, for decades. I can't tell you what we'll do it for 100 years, but I'm pretty sure if we stick to the plan we got, the next 40 or 50 years, this township's going to stay fully funded with no incurred debt on anything. That is what my goal is when I leave and retire, to say it's in as good a shape as I could possibly get it. And this year, I think we're gonna finish up a number of key projects that get us there. That's how I feel.
Everybody, I've got some points of clarification and likely comments. So if
Can you talk a little louder?
I'm so
please?
sorry. I have 2 points of clarification requests and then some comments. Although this is, I think, my 3rd budget, I just want to make sure the proposed increase is for every township employee. Am I correct?
Yes. That's the way I put it in here, yes.
Okay. Having that behind me, I want to share a similar perspective and maybe make it a little bit personal. So we have a cost of living increase. I'm pulling this out of thin air of what?
1.3%.
Okay.
Sounds about right.
So the 1.7%, I would categorize, similar to Bob, as a merit increase. So just to put some things in perspective, as a slight outsider looking in, I've looked at what you've done. You've changed the way things are reported. You've made things easier. You've contributed to competency and harmony in here. Questions are get raised. Similarly, Patty's done the same thing. Bob, as the leader and director, has been virtually visionary in what he's doing here to ensure affordability at the township, and we have lower taxes. My perspective, that's a no-brainer. It's deserved. And should somebody want to throw stones, if they don't want to listen, so be it. But granted, this isn't, let's say, commercial business, but the incentives in the reward system need to be there. I think it's warranted. My 2 cents.
I don't want to sign anybody.
No, you're not.
And that same holds true to the
Right,
fire
to
chief.
the fire chief.
Look at the morale in the fire department. Look at the fact,
Right.
there's a lot of been a positive change there. We can always throttle back, God forbid, if the sky falls.
Okay.
And I've shown I would.
Yeah.
I have.
Yes, next year, maybe. You don't
But-
know what next year is
Right.
gonna bring.
Unless there's 1929 next year, I honestly think we're gonna be in significantly better shape even than this year.
Well, and even if the stocks do go down,
That
I
doesn't-
think, based on what I heard you explaining today about all these other things, I think we'll still be okay. But what I hear you saying is, if things don't continue along the same road, that next year we may, I mean, I know you take things year at a time, right? It's not like we're looking at it going, okay, we're gonna do 3% this year, and then every year after this,
No,
now we're
that's
doing.
not what I'm saying, yeah. No, I'm not saying that. If that's what you're asking, I am not saying that. I think it's warranted because I think we had so much good support from everybody in making this year work under some tough conditions. And our financial future looks exceptionally good, I think. At least on the township's budget, it does. I just think it should be.
Well, I do think that, you know, I mean, I think that you guys have explained your take on the things that I was concerned about, and you've addressed them, so.
It's tough. For me, it's hard because me saying no for myself, even personally, I don't want it, is not gonna change the situation of anybody else's.
The whole,
And I can tell you, I put some serious hours into this.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't get into it for the money either, but, yeah, I do, my time is also valuable.
Exactly.
And I want that across, if we're gonna do whatever percentage it is across the board. My biggest question was, if cost of living, if COLA is 1.3, why the 3? And you have clearly explained that.
And even though we are elected, we still are employees of our township.
Well, we
I know
were.
some people try and make comparisons and say, oh, look at the figure.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, I don't even look at anything outside of Oakland County.
Right.
Because we live in Oakland County and that's what our cost structure is. Okay, and is there any other comments? I don't want to cut anybody short. Do we have anybody on the call? No? Okay. Well, then what we need to do is, on that basis, we need to go through this and do you have the one that you
Did we
printed?
talk
from
about
there?
every single thing on this list already?
I think so. Third person, township raises, part-time. Paying for the second half of Barron Road, I got them all checked out. Unless, well, just are there any other questions or comments anybody wants? But I've got them all checked out.
And do we need to go through any of these line item things here?
We do.
That's what-
I want to,
that's-
because I know a couple of them, you gave me some revisions that were actually better. And I think I had already given that to Pat.
Can you hand me
This one,
Yes, I was gonna suggest,
this?
I was gonna suggest we take a break.
Oh,
Yes.
Everybody.
Potty break,
Gina,
that's what it
yes.
is.
Oh, yeah, good idea.
Yes.
Let's
Potty
take a
break.
break.
We're going minimum
Actually,
2 hours.
Ready?
Okay. No more bad words. We're back in session, okay, from the break. What I'll do, if this makes it a little bit easier to go through, since we've agreed on most of the core issues now, I'll give you the numbers I put in, and then I know, Teresa, you found a couple that were better revenue numbers than I had, so if I missed them, this is our chance to fix them. And Patty, if you see something I goofed up on, personnel costs or something, this is our chance to fix them. But I'll kind of go through how I did them, and then maybe this will expedite it a little bit.
At the end of the day, I'll put in the appropriate, or the balance, fund balances.
Yeah.
After,
Yeah, Pam used to do that after all that stuff was done.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll start on the one for the township that's got current tax collection, and the first item on there was roughed in at 219. What I did was take our current state equalized value times it by our reduced 0.9557 millage, and you end up with $219,100 and some dollars. So I filled it in at 219, but it'll actually be a little bit more than that. So that would be 219,000 for that first entry. When we get to mobile home fees, we're subject to change, but I never really know what it is. I had it to 1,800. Did you want me to pump it back up?
Well, do you want to talk about current DNR taxes or delinquent personals?
We never have anything in there, but
Well, we get money from those.
Yeah.
So,
is that, and that's outside of the 229 for the
Yes.
state? Oh, okay, if you got what it is, tell me.
where's it been going?
is it outside of that?
I don't know.
I called and I asked another treasurer.
The only reason I ask is, they do it two different ways now. They do, one of it was, don't tell us anything, we'll tell you what our property's worth. It's worth 4,000 an acre. Here's how much you're getting a bill.
Right.
The other way they do it is when they bought the DNR park, or the ORB park, they said they actually look up what the old record was for the last regular tax bill on it from the previous owner. And under state law now, they agree to pay whatever that is. So I don't know if those come out as, I just don't know how they show up, because that's a relatively recent change. If it shows up as DNR revenue or not.
Okay, you know what? We'll come back to that. Let me,
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna look.
I put nothing in there, so if
Okay.
there is, all that'll do is make the picture better.
Right, delinquent taxes, I looked at the historic, like I pulled up 3 years worth, and it looks like on average, it's about 2,500.
Okay, and so that's probably not in the SEB, because that's for the old
No,
SEBs.
that's
that
for
were
delinquent
right?
personals, which are not part of,
So let's put 2,500 in there? Okay, that's a good one, that's a plus. Tax collection fees, I don't think we ever have anything in
No.
there, and I don't know why we even have that line item.
Well, we just signed a contract with Holly Schools to charge a tax collection fee.
But that shows up under school tax collections.
Okay,
That's-
So
okay, got
I think we should actually, one of the things is always, there's some line items,
Something
there I think we
right,
should be
yeah,
out, we should
clean it
take
up.
that one out.
well, the tax collection fee would be if we put an administrative fee, like a 1%. You can,
Oh, yes, you're right, that's where we go, we don't.
right? We do not, and we can, but we don't.
Right.
So 1% on every single
You're right,
bill.
that's where it would go, but.
So then we can pull it out if
Pull
we're
it
not
out,
gonna do that? Okay.
One,
In the Camp Tamarack one, we've agreed to give the entire
To the fire
contracted
department.
amount to the fire department, so I think we can pull that off of our budget as well.
But it's out of here, right?
Yeah, there's no money in
There's
here, but I think what I'm getting at, I'd like to clean up some of those line items that are always zero or
Right.
nothing.
Yep.
Okay, and then mobile home fees, now, again, I'm swagging because I never know what it's gonna be. I put 1,800 in there. We had 2,300, but it looks like we only collected 672 as of the date that I was working on, so.
I think that's close. I
1,800?
we just got, I just did a check to the township for 1184, and prior to that, I believe Shelley did one in the summer.
That was probably the 672.
672. And
So it's about 1,800.
so there's about 1 month left to pay out. So yeah,
Yeah, okay, we'll leave it at 18,
it's
that's
probably
pretty
under
close.
2,000.
Okay. And then, planning commission, a couple of these are, when you see $100 in there or $50, that's just kind of a holding spot in case something shows up in there that Ken wants us to have on the spreadsheet. So that's why I put 100 in there for both of those. And then administrative reviews, those are the ones we do in the office now. It's quite possible it could be more than that, depending on what happens, but I thought 3,000 was a fairly safe number because this past year, we're already running at 2,780, and I think there will be more activity, so I used the 3,000. And then, rezoning, again, it was 990 this year, I put 1,000 in there, I thought that was a pretty reasonable assumption to use. Consultant review, I don't know why that's in there. I don't think we had money yet, it was 180, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we should leave it just in case something comes up, right?
Yeah.
What would fall under that category?
Unless that's something where, the only thing I think that could end up being in there, what it might have been is, sometimes when we have to pay to have something done, like when we're dealing with the levy company, I usually tell them, if you want me to do this, you gotta agree to pay the legal costs on it, because I'm not gonna eat the legal bill on it, and that's what Will's doing on the one we're doing now.
Okay.
So it might be a place where it would show up there. So there may have been some engineering that we did back when the estimates were being done. That could have been an Orchard Hills figure to me or something.
So that would, whatever goes
Yeah,
there
I'd
is
leave
gonna-
it blank, but whatever it is, leave the line in for
okay, because that would be paid out to someone else anyway.
it. Probably, yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay, miscellaneous. Well, I think I
That
used
393 was cash receipted in there, I think. I don't know what it was for.
Oh, that
Out
was,
of the top of my
that was
head.
the adjustment that 1 month to make things balance.
Okay,
Before, when we were trying to close everything out,
okay.
Should I-
before the change.
Should we leave 400 in there or not? Or make it 100
I'd
or
say
what?
100 is fine. I think
Put
that's
100
just
in.
where we,
Okay, just to hold the place. The school tax collections, I think you said that number was still good, right, Teresa?
Yeah, that was the number that Angela gave you? On that little-
I believe so.
Okay, so that's from Brandon, Holly, OCC, and Oakland Intermediate Schools.
I'm sure that's in here.
Yeah, I'm sure it's in there.
Okay, I don't know why he has this whole donations in the office. That was used for the money we all chip in every Wednesday for the month for jeans, and we give it to somebody. I don't even know why that's in here.
actually, we've been using it for like birthday cake.
Right. We actually, I'm not aware that we even did that yet. We said we
Oh,
would,
it's
but
still sitting there.
it's still sitting there, and we've in the past, we've just given it to OSAF or
Yeah.
We
something
gave
like
it to
that.
Kevin.
I think we did, I think we
We
gave
gave
it
it
to
to
the
Kevin
fire
for
department
Christmas.
Yeah, for that kid.
for that child.
scout
What
race.
was left in there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
We
But
should
I-
use it for like.
but I don't know why we need to show
I
that.
don't know
as-
why they put it on
personal.
revenue.
I don't think that needs to be in there. I know Ken said that, but that's completely what we're doing in the office outside of
Well,
the
it's
township.
not
It's a
gonna go
charitable
away, it's
thing.
just gonna go to, invalid. So it's not like I can't unhook it and bring it back.
Okay, so.
Yeah, I'd say we don't need that.
Click it out.
I'm glad.
And the property gateway, that looks like it's still okay at 1,000.
Property gateway, yeah,
Is that-
that's the commission, so to speak.
For the
that-
county system. Yeah.
For using credit cards here in the office, so we get 50% of the net proceeds, and they take off something off the top, so it's,
Do we think we're okay at 400 on the dog license? That's what I put in there, but it looks like it was only 88 bucks this year for some reason.
I just did a distribution to us for about 165. So that was from July something until mid-January. We still have all of,
So maybe like twice that.
but if that
230 or something?
$88 was done, I mean, I don't know when that 88 was done. And I don't have that line item pulled up exactly, but I'd say it's probably close. I wouldn't
3
say
or
it's
4.
significantly higher or significantly lower. I'd leave it at 400
Okay.
because
Okay,
if we had 167 for July through end of January,
it's probably okay.
we you know, people haven't been coming in and doing it, but that, I think maybe more people are doing it online through
Oh.
Oakland County. I mean,
Oh,
you know what I mean, with the COVID,
that could be.
because they waived all late fees last year.
So maybe next year would be more typical than what's going on right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
Okay, but it's not a big item anyway.
right.
It's
So
CDBG,
we don't need anything in there because the $7,452 that we have is not gonna come in
it goes back
here
up
where I'm
to
gonna pay it out.
Oakland County's gonna pay it out.
Oakland County's gonna.
So, can we pull that line item
Yes.
out? Okay, let's pull it up.
Which one, people?
Community Development Block Grants,
I
CDBG
wonder
funds
if
and
I
grants.
should, yes, I can, because I'm.
Yeah, 'cause they're gonna be
we're
paying
so
him
low,
directly.
they're gonna pay him directly.
Yeah.
That's the 19,278.
Yes,
Yes.
now we have.
It never was a revenue generator for us. If you look at the old budgets, whatever
It was
came
an
in,
in and out.
always the
Always
exact
went
same
out.
amount went out. So we had to show it in and out. Since it's going through the county now, we won't have to do that. Okay, grants for energy, I
We
Put
put
zero
that in
in
there
there, I don't
that
know.
time when we had that,
light switches and all that
Yeah.
stuff that Edison did, but I don't think we
do
normally
you
have
think we
that.
need that? I think it could go up.
I think it could go up too.
Not a recurring thing.
The tri-party program, that's where the county, the road commission, and the township equally pay for road improvements. And the number I put in there is 19,278, because that's, when I called the folks at RCOC, they told me that's what the last number is, so I put it in there. It ends up going back out on whatever road project we
So
have.
that number 19,278 goes
It
under
should be
tri-party?
good. Yeah, I think that's still okay. And I wrote okay next to it, so I must have called them to do it. And constitutional sales tax, ended up, the number we got in there is the revised number I had, because originally, remember, we had 473, and I said it went up. It is 495,840. So that's the good number. And I take all the calls like that we can get. Enhanced revenue sharing is really the statutory money that we never get anymore. I think we could pull that line out, because we never get it.
We don't have one for that.
I'll tell you what, if they ever give it to us, we'll be happy to put the line item back
Exactly, just look at,
in. And the billboard rent, I think, is okay at 11.5, that's what it is. And, property sale, I think that one, if I look at my notes correctly, I believe you told me we were okay on that one,
that was my
Teresa?
tackle, wasn't it?
Right,
Yes,
at
yes.
20,262, right?
Yep,
262, okay. And the next sheet is, okay, impact fees and shipping fees, and rent storage rental, I would leave those in because that's all part of the projects that we wrote up for the deal with what Barry's gonna do when he starts his recycling. So if it actually gets going this year, I would like to leave those in, even though there's no money for them right now. Mining reclamation, and I think Teresa, you told me the number was 85,920.
well, he's at, 7, so his price was 7240, something like that, for 12 months. So 86.8.
Oh, 86.8? Okay.
Yeah. He went, you know, it's a 2% increase.
Yeah, 86.8, okay. I had the wrong number then, thank you. Again, that's a little bit better. Interest earned, I don't know, I left it at
Well-
6, are we okay on that?
But I thought the interest earned you had at 17, was this the thing that, partnered up with the property sale, like the property sale
Interest.
interest, right? So at each month, there's
Yeah, because,
3,000 something paid.
well, and to your point, maybe that's right, I might have just looked at that when I did my first draft and said all that was in there at the time was 6,600. So
Yeah.
if you think the 17 is right, we'll put that back in. And I think that's the interest on the bedrock deal, because they're all together, mining reclamation,
Right,
interest
you've got
earned.
18.5 here on your
You
pie
got
chart.
18.5 on the pie chart and
Yeah.
20,262 for property sale. So I would put 18.5 for interest,
For
because
interest.
this is, well, you have that.
I have that on the bedrock.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
okay. Okay.
So I can just say this, as far as interest earned on public funds, in the month of January, I totaled it up,
Dollars.
it was 2,900.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I didn't total it up for December, November, or any of that prior. I just, for kicks and grins, did it in January.
Mhm.
I'd say that was when rates were like, they had gone down at Oakland County and so on. So I think you could probably use that as, like, I'd maybe use 2,500 a month as, So
So
if this is a-
30,000?
yeah,
Wow, okay.
Where's 30 going?
Yeah,
It's interest earned, where it says 6. Okay.
Okay, so just so that I know, the interest earned is a combination of interest on public funds as well as the interest on the property.
no, Bedrock property
Different line item.
is,
It's the 18.5.
Got it, okay.
is the 18.5, but, I mean, if we earn 2,900 in January, then if you times that by 12, that's, almost 36.
That wasn't a quarter's
35,000.
interest or anything, was it?
No, that was just
Go
January.
conservative.
Okay.
But
I'm tickled
I
pink
mean-
it's that much.
if you want to be a little more conservative, go with 20,000. I mean, who knows
Okay.
what the interest rates are going to be.
Nobody gets upset when we're over. I'm glad we're
Right.
putting 20,000 in, it's more than I had in there. And just so you know, when I started here, when dirt was invented, the interest we used to get in a year on our money was about 90 grand. That's how much higher interest rates
Yeah.
were.
Yeah,
Okay, I would leave the royalty number in there, even though there's nothing going in, because ultimately, when he mines the South 40, there's 4 or 5 million tons of sand in there, so we'll have something, we should leave it in. The cable franchise, I think you gave me the new numbers on that one too. 67,855, 67,855. And then the other part of it's 37,089.
Kind of funds.
Yeah, but I think that's a little high on PEG. Only because,
Here, let's take 67,855 divided by 5 equals that times 2. It should be 27,142, I think.
yeah, I think PEG is around 7,000 a quarter. So that's 28,000 a year.
You want to make it 28?
I'd make that 28,000.
Okay.
And then, cable itself, there's four payments, and those are like 18,000 a piece. So that's about 72. So you're probably about right with,
It may be fatter than the 67, but we're in the ballpark, right?
right.
Okay. And then right away, this number changes every year. We have no way of validating it or anything. The PUC keeps track of every piece of wire supposedly in the state, and whatever goes through your municipality, there is a right-of-way fee charge that they keep track of. In some years, it's been 7,000. This last year, it was 9,000, which is higher than normal. I have absolutely no idea what it would be, but one would think if it was 9,000 last year, it should be at least 9 this year. May not be the case, but I don't know what else to put in, so I use the
Okay.
9240. 240, okay. And then general reimbursements and special school elections, there's none of that stuff. Ordinance fines.
Ordinance fines, have we been fining anybody yet?
He's been getting much better compliance taking them, and so he doesn't fine them unless we go to the judge first. And the judge says, now you're gonna do this, then they can write him a fine. I asked him about that the other day. Waste hauler fees, I think we're okay at 2,000.
I think that it's more than that.
Do you want me to use the 2975?
I would use something at least 3,500. I mean,
Oh, okay.
I remember cash receiving all of those last year. Waste management itself had 41 trucks, so
Oh,
that's
wow.
4,000.
Okay,
And so we already do have one in already for 2,200.
oh, okay.
And
We'll
that's
take
just
35
one
then.
out of the 3 companies. So I'd say you could easily put 4,000 in there and that would be closer.
Okay, you could 4, very good. Thank you. I didn't realize that. Better than I thought. Okay, the MABUS, that's the money, that money comes in and most of that goes back to Barry for his building, but we keep our part, so I think it's 114 now that goes in. Back to Barry. And then the tower, I think the 85,161 is the most recent calculation from the tape I got. It was either you or Janelle that gave it to me that I think we have for the cell tower there, so
Mhm.
I'm using the 85.
Okay.
161. And then cemetery, there's nothing in there, well, there's no money in there.
Right. I knew that. We sold one grave like 2 years ago.
I didn't mean it was empty, everybody.
Yeah, it's empty.
In grants, we have nothing in there. We're gonna remove fire truck.
I think some of this I already did, but it
Long,
didn't
right?
show up on this sheet, yeah.
Oh, fire truck, she did pull that one out. It's just fire truck alone, OPEB. We probably have to have a motion to actually waive them off of that. So
Oh.
we'll have to leave it until we do it. We'll let them money for the OPEB costs.
Oh, true, wait, I won't take it.
Yeah, just leave it for 0 there. Transfer in, there's nothing, and appropriations from fund balance, that's where I put taking the 245 out that we're gonna owe for the other half of Barron Road, so that's coming out of infrastructure fund, if you're wondering. Okay, now, I guess we should add that up, because that's the income part, we gotta make sure the outflow is the same. So let me add that up. And then Patty, you can keep me honest by double checking it later, okay?
Yeah, I wrote that.
Feel free to double check me on this in case I fat finger something doing this. Okay. Where's that? 40. Okay, I come up with 1, 4, 5, 7, 4, 1, 6. And hopefully that's the right number and I didn't miss it. Okay, so all puts and takes, we're about 17,000 less, a little less than 17,000 less than my original estimate. Is that what you came up with?
No, what did you come up with? 1, 4, 5,
7.
1, 4, 5, 7, 4, 1, 6. Like that finger something?
I don't know. I came up with 1,492, 942, but I might have missed something. Let's go through the list.
Yeah. 219.
219, 9,500, 2,500.
Oh, 9,500. Where'd you get 9,500?
Oh, you know what? That's right, because I didn't put in the DNR. I had
Oh.
added the DNR tax to it.
Okay.
If you take that out, do you get the number I had?
Um,
1,457, 416?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's the part that scares me. I'm still wrong.
So, hold on. Minus. I got 148. So 2,500, 1,800, 100, 100, 3,000, 1,000, 100, 29,803, 1,400, 19,278, 495,840, 11,500, 20,262. Next page, 86,000
I got 86,080.
and 80.
Yeah,
86,080, okay, and then 20,000, and then 18,500, 67,855, 28,000, 92,40, 4,000, 14,000, I'm sorry, 114,000, 85,164, and 245. Are those all the numbers you had?
I got 85,161.
85,160, okay, I have 85,164.
Well, that's what it said, but Bob said 61, so I'm not, yeah. I know he got a fresh copy.
85,161 is what I had.
Isn't this
Yeah,
electronic?
61.
I know you.
Now I come up with 14842.
That's closer. I had 148.
Okay, so let's make it,
442.
Patty, you know that.
Yeah.
Double check when we're not
Okay.
that finger in here, okay. It's roughly 1/8.
That's what I'm saying.
I had
Tape.
1483.
Computer.
Yeah, who made this? Just add it up on
Yeah.
Excel.
Yeah, put it on Excel, right.
It's close, we're,
Okay.
whatever it is, where's the margin,
Fair.
double check it. Okay, then we gotta go to this page, and I applied those raises we talked about, and it makes it 6825 on the first number, 200 on the professional development, 6825.
68250.
No, 6,825.
Oh,
Where are
I'm
you?
sorry, first number, how much is 6825?
6825.
Okay, then
And then for training, I don't know why I put 200 in there, is that,
for
Probably 'cause
professional
we-
development,
Probably
Yeah.
because we just dished out 1,900, that should cover most of any.
yeah,
training
so
we
we're
have.
kinda gonna get it.
Yeah, so that makes
That might even
sense.
be fat, right? But
Right,
we'll leave
right.
200 in case.
200,
something comes up.
Okay.
And then, the next one is 409. Oh, she's gonna find my 409. Okay.
You
I thought you meant 409 cleaner, Bob.
Yeah, right. We didn't have.
I put you in.
Oh, okay,
Yep,
and
I
deputy, and yep, you did,
Yeah,
added it in the 600 for the deputy,
Yeah,
okay.
Chris
And
Jew's
then dues and subscriptions, 300. I don't even know if I'll use it, but that's just a placeholder.
It always looks
Professional
nice when it's still there.
development, 700. Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna even get used this year, but. Okay, then we go to clerk, and I got 64,878. Okay. And then 600 for deputy there. And then, again, the dues and subscription might be high this year, but we'll leave it at 500.
Yeah.
Because we got the, like you said, the stuff's all paid for in advance on that. Professional development, should that be 2, or will that be less this year?
Well, last year I had 3, but nothing happened. We can go with, how about 25?
2,500.
2 is good.
Two is what I put in there, just.
Yeah,
That's
let's go with
It
2.
was only like 6 something, the one that we just approved,
Yeah.
so it's not a lot of.
Okay, then audit and legal, I think I left that at 17,500. Is that okay?
is that for Ken Palka?
Mm-hmm.
And is that legal? What's legal? I mean, he's audit.
Well, there's another line for,
Will.
attorney.
Yeah.
So I think it's just audit and legal. I think it's legal requirements for auditing is kind of what
Oh,
we're saying. Audit and
okay.
legal filings.
So this is for our auditor.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then,
And
That's-
I'm sorry, one more question. Does that include, and not that I think I'm gonna need him to come in and sit with me and, at all this year, but like, does that include, or is it 17.5 just for the
That's for his
actual
contract.
audit?
yeah.
Okay, that's for the
first.
contract. So if he comes in and sits with us and helps us figure stuff out, that's just on top of that?
But we'll take that, whatever we have to when we move it around during the year if we have to.
Okay, I just
Because
want,
we don't know what it is. Yeah, you're right. That's his audit fee. Though.
okay, all right.
Well, I believe that
Yeah, that's a
you've
quarterly
done
meeting,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a what?
when he comes in quarterly, if you ask him to go in, I think that's part of it.
Is it?
Contractually.
Oh, for the quarter, we use
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
it is,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I thought you were asking about if you had him come in for something special.
And I think I've been taking it out of there. I think there's a little room in there
Okay.
too.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Then, board of review, that all shows up at the end. That's why it's not in there yet. So I stayed with 4,700. It's the tax appeal
Right.
board. And 500 for the training, and I don't think we're gonna have that much either, but that's what I put in there every year for it. Then there's treasurer, and that's the 64,800. 878. And then deputy is 600.
Mhm.
Okay, and then dues and subscription, I had 450. Do you think
That's too high.
okay? What do you want it to be?
I think 300 is more than enough.
Okay,
Actually, Oakland County Treasurer said that last year's fees count for this year because they didn't do anything, so,
oh,
nice.
okay, good.
yeah.
Well, then there'll just be extra web at the end of pay for something else if we need it.
And professional development, I can go down to 2,000 as well.
Okay. And then equalization, that's the contract from the county for tax assessing, so I think we're okay at the 38,000 there. And then salary election administrator, now I
Yeah.
wrote notes on that, that one is,
Are we gonna have to change that?
Well, I think we shouldn't need it.
Well, that would be-
those were the election inspectors and
No,
stuff,
that
that's
was
what salary election inspectors
That
and
was-
office
That was
supplies.
Right.
Janelle.
This
That's
is
Janelle,
Janelle.
that's Janelle, but we're gonna change and make her.
I
Yeah,
don't
but I got it
think-
written down here as office part-time, farther down.
Yes, you do.
So that was for the election workers that we don't have this year.
No,
So all
the
of
next
those are
one
exempt.
is
Next
election
one is election.
inspectors paid. There were two.
Yeah.
Janelle was paid under my election administrator.
Yeah, and I got her money in there under that, because I wrote my own labels for who they were. So those three are just dashes. Salary, election
Wait, no,
administrator,
But wait, because next
election
year,
inspector, and
yeah.
office supplies.
I'm gonna have
Is there gonna be?
will I have a March one? I could have a March one. It's a
You mean in
gubernatorial.
2022
For the
Yeah.
gubernatorial.
for gubernatorial? I don't think they do a March one.
But won't that be the year after?
Well,
Well,
no,
it'll be
No, April
March,
will be-
2022 is,
March 2022.
Our budget is
That
until April
fiscal
1st,
year.
so
2020.
maybe
Oh,
I have
yes,
a
yes.
May if there was a school.
Yeah, if you had one, it would be May. I
Yeah,
don't
okay,
think
so
there's
I
no
think
rules.
I'm good.
Okay.
But even so, is she going to be, what is her title gonna be if we're bringing her on full-time?
Well, I got it
She's
down
still
here
gonna
as
be my
office
deputy
manager.
clerk, election admin.
Okay, so it'll be half and half.
On this, I wrote names of, we
We
can
can,
pull what
okay.
we want there, because I had to try and keep them all straight when we were going through this.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
right. We put her in his office manager.
Okay, school and school expenses, I don't think we have anything under that, right? Those are zeros too, because there's no elections.
Did we skip over office supplies?
That's for
Because it was for
election.
election, so it was.
Oh, it
exempt
is?
too. Yeah,
Oh.
all three of those together are the
Oh,
elections.
okay, I didn't know that. School and special and school expenses,
And that's a zip because there's no election.
okay.
So then we got planning and zoning administrator.
Now, is that Danielle?
Now, we have nothing in there, and we have had nothing in there. What I have is, I have the recording secretary next, which is for taking the minutes, right? And then I have office manager one, and the one that was labeled
That's
office manager
there.
part-time, I had as office manager two.
Planning and zoning admin is there because Judy Schulte was paid out of that, I believe, when she worked.
Well, but we're gonna use planning, we're gonna use the building department to cover half of Janelle, and then I put half of her under office manager one. And I put I put Angela under office manager one, I put half of Janelle under office manager two, which is where it says part-time.
And that is correct.
Okay, so.
And recording secretary should be 3,000.
So that line that says planning and zoning
I
administrator,
took
we
it out.
actually don't need, okay.
So I'm
Now, that's what's
sorry.
confusing it.
That's not Danielle?
I'm confused.
Yeah,
Where is
Danielle.
Danielle?
Danielle's gonna be
It's on the other side of there.
Oh, she's gonna be in the 249
Yes.
one.
the
Okay,
building.
okay.
Okay,
So office manager two, this one here, this
Yes.
line item that ends in 021, that's gonna be, is that Angela?
Angela is,
Well, wait, first, let's do the recording secretary, so we're all
Okay,
together on 702012.
and you said that's
That,
three.
I put 3 in, is that okay, or is that too much, or what?
no, that is recording secretary.
Is it, is that,
Because that's one for every BZA, every planning
Yes.
commission, every board meeting.
So it's 100.
1,200, and it's probably more like 2,400. actually.
Yeah, I was gonna say. it's not-
Well, it's at least 2,400, and that's
Let's
assuming.
make
there's no
2,500,
specials.
how's that? Okay, and throw one extra meeting in there,
Okay,
2,500 for the estimate. Now, office manager 2, I don't care which way we address them, you want to make 2 Angela?
No, well, I put office manager 1 as Angela, 25,720.
Okay.
Where's that line?
Third line item from the bottom, it says office
They
manager two
don't
should be
have it
office
on
manager.
there.
I don't have
have it on mine either here. I don't have mine. I have office manager two, but, and the recording
Yeah,
secretary.
so all I did was make 2 to 1, and you could write in parentheses after that, Angela, right?
Okay, where it says part-time,
That's gonna be
that's
office manager two.
two.
Okay,
And that one, I would put
Got
a J after it, so you know that's where we're covering half of Janelle.
Office manager two,
Yeah,
Janelle. Okay, so what are we putting there?
so for office manager one, have I got this right, Patty? I have 25,720,
Yes.
okay.
Office one is 25,720.
720.
And who's that one?
That's Angela.
Angela.
And then for what was office
Office two.
part-time, that we made office manager two, that's Janelle, half of her,
It's gonna be
and that's 12,610.
yes.
Okay, I actually got that right.
So office manager. I'm sorry.
The one that says office manager two is really office manager one, Angela,
Oh,
at 25,720. The one that says office part-time is really office manager two, that's Janelle, and it's half of hers and she'd be 12,610.
12,620.
Is that it?
Okay, all right.
Now, HRA, Patty, I think you corrected me on this one. I had 102 in it, right?
That's what I think I had. I'll double check.
I know Kevin said I screwed up on the one I gave him.
Good job. Did he?
He fixed it, he caught
Miss Roscoe doesn't get any money.
It was
He might have.
it. You're telling him that, so I don't show up when he's on shift, okay?
He's there today, but I might want to go up to him.
Okay, now, the next page. The first item should be social security taxes.
Anything I find that is different for whatever reason, I will highlight and let it be known at the board meeting.
Yeah, because this isn't approving this
Otherwise,
budget,
right.
we're just getting a consensus for what we're gonna put in that mark.
Okay.
Okay, so the first one, the social security taxes, if I got the right number, I think Patty said 38,576 was okay.
5, did you get 76?
Oh, 6, but I see, no, you wrote 5, so 38,575.
Okay.
And then the maintenance bills, I put 7 in there. Honestly, I don't know if we need that or not.
What falls under that category?
That's miscellaneous stuff we get fixed around
so
here, you know? like-
fixing the furnace,
Yeah.
and what about the lights? Can that go in there?
Or is that
Actually, the
coming out of
lights
this
will come out of this
fiscal
year's budget probably, so I'll get that done, and I don't know on the furnace, is that something we can take care of internally?
What's wrong with the front?
You didn't
The
say it was
the
very,
flue pipes apparently weren't sealed and for the high energy
Oh,
furnace.
that all? Yeah, I mean, that's sounds simple.
It's just, I think it's PVC glue, right? Yeah.
Primary, because that's
Oh.
the right way.
Okay. Yeah, that's the purple stuff,
Yeah,
right?
Purple
the
stuff, yeah.
ceiling pads,
And then get some tiles, so you need.
If we could get that done before April 1, we're good.
You mean-
Okay.
What do you need, a dozen tiles?
probably about 40.
Was it that many or?
Well, I'm a continuity freak, I don't want to see similar tiles in there.
I'm gonna pick.
You don't want it to look like a Kmart.
Okay.
store,
I'm
right?
gonna go to,
green and red and.
what was that name of that place? The Hoopie Bowl. Pick up-
Yeah.
Oh, that was a cool song.
Yeah, that was a cool place.
So do you think for repairs, we're okay leaving it at 7 then?
Well-
That'll give us a little squish room if we have something else that goes up.
What would, the playground area, what would, you know, taking care of that fall under, which line?
The
item?
wood chips,
Yes.
to be honest with you, what usually happens is we call Barry and he delivers it and never charges us.
But he doesn't have that truck anymore.
No, he has
Blow it
trucks
truck,
for
but he's
dumping
got
it. What he
trucks,
doesn't
yeah.
have is the truck that I think,
That
and
blows
he
it
still
around.
might have it, the one that blows the chips.
Nice.
I think he still has that. When I hired him to do my house,
Okay.
and I said, I'm not done, can I get it again? He said, yeah, I'll probably still have it, but he was gonna sell it, but I think he still got it. In fact, the first couple of times, I thought they delivered it with a dump truck and just pulled it over with a rake.
Well, I think we definitely need to give some attention to
Yeah.
the playground
Well, it's
area.
every year.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I don't know that we did it last year.
I
because it was
don't
all
think we did
roped
because of
off for
COVID
half
and it was
the year.
roped off, but
Okay.
we can this year. I mean, I don't think we have to put a lot in there. I think if we leave $7,000 in repairs and maintenance, we can take
blacktop?
care of it out of that. Yeah, we ain't gonna be able to get a blacktop because that's gonna be expensive. I mean, the parking lot is gonna be expensive. We usually.
Blacktop or just seal coat is what you're talking about.
Well, fixing it. like really fixing it.
That's more than $7,000. Yeah, it'll be,
Okay,
that'll be an expense when we got extra money.
okay.
So,
Shoot, just seal coating was $4,000, I think, $4,800, right?
So then can maintenance be upgrading our stationary Zoom camera?
We
Yeah.
don't even have it. Yeah.
Well, we've got computers, internet, Rico.
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
and this one, I was gonna say,
Well, so for repairs and maintenance, leave that at 7?
I would say that you can always not spend it.
Yeah, okay. And then the next item was, employee payroll, that must be for the service,
Maintenance services.
$500.
Is yours only $500?
That's all we got in there, and it looks like we've only been billed so far $100.
I pay $4,000 a year.
Yours is prettier than theirs, I guess. I don't know what the deal is, I don't know. how they
I have a
charge.
lot more employees, but it's not,
Yeah.
it should be $4,000.
Which
We've only had 100 in expenses in it so far.
Which line item?
The third one down from the top.
Repair.
Maintenance and
Maintenance,
employee
employee payroll.
payroll?
Oh, that's something, that's,
What even comes out
Yeah.
of
that's,
that?
you pay someone to come fix
so
something.
if we're gonna pay Kevin to fix the ceiling tiles,
Oh,
Right.
we would pay him out of.
I thought you meant payroll services for,
Oh,
for the year.
No, it's maintenance, yeah.
Now, I think the
Okay.
computers and internet needs to be more than 5,000. I mean, I take the
Well,
copper out of
Well,
there.
wait, we haven't done the repairs and maintenance 1099s yet,
Oh, okay.
right? That's the stuff we pay for outside, the
I'm
7,
sorry,
okay?
yeah.
I'll have to step out, look at this guy, only used 584.
Now, this is the one you said you wanted to adjust up, the computers,
So.
internet,
out of this-
Rico, I had 5 in there, what do you think it should be?
Okay, I thought that new contract was gonna save us something first of all.
Yeah, it's 400 something for the,
Right.
so that's 4,000. But then I take out of there like, trying to think what else comes out of here, computers.
Well, if we had
Maybe,
some,
yeah, I don't, because I take the others out of contracts.
Yeah.
Like when I get the,
so
yeah, we should be,
5, okay?
yeah.
Okay. That's good, you're saving money on that.
Try. Yeah, let's hope so.
Planning consultant, Patty and I are gonna keep an eye on that, but I think we leave it at 25.
Yes.
And then
Now, the
engineer, we don't have anything in there, we normally don't, all of those charges usually get billed back to the, to the mining company that is involved with it.
But if we were to hire an engineer, a civil engineer for our property, it
That
would
would be
go in
different.
that line item. No,
Well, it could be, typically it goes in, not in that, it goes in, professional services other, I think, about 3 lines down. So engineer, I would leave that in there, but 0. Attorney, I think I'd leave, we haven't spent that much, but I think I'd leave it at 25.
Yes.
Once we get into some contracts on that property, there'll be a lot of stuff will be involved in. Legal, technical, environmental, I think that's a holding place at 500. I don't think we actually have that much to spend. I don't know, we can make it less if you want. I don't care if you put 100 bucks in there.
No, it doesn't look like we used it.
No, that's, you know what that's for? That's when we sold the property to Barry. Remember, we had Dragon Corporation come out, validate that it wasn't contaminated.
Right.
So nobody would sue us or anything.
so you want $100
I think we
placeholder?
could put 100 bucks in there. Okay, and the professional services other. That, I left that 10 grand and I put a question mark on my note because I think that's where we might take something that we hire, like you said, an engineer for something there.
Regarding that, if you're to engage a soils engineer, or in this case, as a civil engineer, I see 2 components. I see one, the immediate need for where fire station 1 is going to go. But for the combination of services to potentially master plan the entire
Marketing
site,
pitch.
and the marketing is
That would be more.
I put 25,000 into all of it.
Here's why I don't want to screw the balance up in the budget. What I'd rather do is when we get to that point, decide if that's money I think will come out of the infrastructure project. And I think we do that when we know we're going to do it, and then we can allocate wherever we need to get done right away.
Great.
So I would leave it at the 10 for now.
I see.
But you're right, when we get ready to do the whole pitch, we need some first-class marketing, so. Repair bills and maintenance, I left that at 8, I think that's okay, it's pretty close to that, it's almost 7 right now.
Yeah.
And then, community development, we're gonna take that right out, okay? Because we took it out on the income
Yeah,
side.
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah, because you don't write the check anymore.
no, I'm not gonna have anything in there.
Good choice.
Cable
now.
franchise, I left those at 4 and 9, I think they're okay.
What's cable franchise?
The money they pay us for having kids.
Yeah, but these are.
No, these are our expenses, that's Vinny and, the equipment we buy and stuff like that.
Oh, cable, okay,
Yeah.
so, all right,
What is it? Cable franchises.
so that's stuff.
Stuff, yeah.
Stuff.
That's stuff. Telephone, I think we're okay at 3,
Yeah.
and,
So let me-
utilities, I think we're okay at 28, I actually think we're high on that.
I think we're gonna be better once the new one comes along.
Yeah,
The new,
station one.
Station
Oh,
one and
yes.
the lights.
yeah, because it'll go back to them, but you want to leave it at 28 for this year?
Does that include the 1,000 you were saying it cost us right now that you're gonna try and run the Mavis building for utilities?
We don't pay
We
that.
don't pay that.
Barrett's paying that.
Oh,
He's
got
gonna fix that because it's his part of the rent.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Mhm.
I think we leave it at 28 if that's okay.
I
just
say,
for
yeah.
now. And then the reimbursed expenses, I think that's like mileage, is if you go out of town, you get reimbursed for deals or whatever, you know?
Yes.
So it's probably high. It doesn't look like it's anywhere near what we figured, but if you want, we could probably make it $3,000 in that thing, because a lot of the training's online now, right?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
mostly
So
on
even that's probably high, but 3 okay, everybody?
3,000 probably, yeah, that's.
And I think that's high.
More than sufficient, I think.
And then for office supplies, because we weren't running that high, I put it at 9. Okay? 9,000 that is. And payroll services, this is where we, Kevin, this is what you were
This is,
asking about. I think we're paying 2,500.
yes.
Okay, and then contractual services, this would be IT rate, BSNA, all that kind of stuff is in there. Now, we had 55, but on the last run here, we only had spent over 12, so
Yes,
does it seem all right if we put 30,000 in there?
yes.
I think we might be even fat on that. So I put 30,000 in there. Okay. Bank fees, I put at 200 because it's placekeeper really for some nominal charges, and I know you've been nailing those down.
Yeah, I mean, I did have to order more deposit slips and they didn't have any record of ordering any for fire department, so you got yours at half price. But,
Thank her, you can thank her now.
but we had to pay full price, so
He
that was
wanted
like,
withdrawal slips, not deposit slips.
so that, but that was only $64. Other than that, I'm not aware of any other bank fees. They don't charge us for.
You know what I think this was when Dave used to do some stuff and he didn't have the money to move it around and then he'd have to move it late. I think that involved some fees for
Oh,
transferring those funds around.
it could be.
And I know you've been trying to take care of that so that doesn't happen. So the 200 could be high, but it's not that much money. Whatever you want in there. we'll put.
Put 100 in there,
Okay,
just as a place marker, we'll see.
Well, I mean, 200's not gonna break it.
literally.
Excuse the pun.
Okay, then Mavis, this is the part where it goes back to Barry for his building, so that's the 96,000 on the rent. Dues and subscriptions, 6,400 is the MTA charge, and I think they're well worth it, especially since we helped get the MTA director in.
They should pay
We got a
us.
good connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Disaster fund, that's just a holding place for 100, if Ken wanted in there, but we never use that. Legal notices and publications, I think I bumped it down to 3,000, if that seems okay.
Yeah, we're okay.
And then, general insurance, Annie, are we all right on the 20 on that?
Yeah, I think we leave it at 20, we should be okay.
Okay, and then, online with the county, that's another placeholder. I could have done lots. Miscellaneous,
You want one here?
I have $1,000 and never really even spend it, so it's kind of low. This is why at the end of the year,
Right.
usually more money, it's stuff like this, ends up getting zeroed out. Write off for delinquent taxes, I think I put $50 in there, just a holder. And a charge back on property taxes, I put 100 in there just as a holder. And gifts and awards, that's where we get things like Ben's plaque and those kinds of things. That's $1,000.
What did you decide on miscellaneous? Did you,
Miscellaneous, $1,000 is in there, but we only had 400 last year. We can make it less if you want.
oh, I just didn't,
I just left it at 1,000, but we can make it less.
that's fine. Just wanted
Okay, hey, we're cruising.
to-
folks.
Can we, I'm sorry, I had to step out for a second. Can we go back up to line number 4, repairs and maintenance, 1099s? Just tell me what you guys put in,
7,000,
7, and then what's?
5,000,
5.
and then 25,000.
And the next one,
0 for engineer and 25,000 for attorney.
and then you left legal, technical, and all that at 500.
No, we made it 100.
Oh, you made it
Yeah,
100.
because we didn't put anything into it last year, so we made
And
it
then
100.
professional services and other,
10,000.
10, and then 8.
8,
Okay, I got it from there.
okay.
Thank you.
And now, this is actually, hopefully, yeah.
Now, this is our office.
The last page on it, this one, okay. Ordinance officer, that is Jerry, left that at 10. He's worked out really well for our ordinance.
Yes, he has.
Way better than any we've had before.
You can hear him coming.
Thanks to Kevin, because he's the one who turned me on.
Thanks,
Hear
Kelly.
it coming.
Office supplies, I left that at 500. He doesn't use much in office supplies.
Oh, that was for Jerry. 'Cause
Yeah,
ours
and
was
then the PC, I got at 4,000 because we're running way under. We normally only have every other month, so unless it really picks up, I think the 4 is okay. And then 500 for dues and subscriptions, and it looks like we didn't even spend that, but we're gonna leave it at 5. And then salaries, that's for the BZA, that salary number. I put 1,000 in there because we were only at 540.
Geez, they must have only had
We
one.
haven't had very many meetings at the
They've only had
BZA.
like 3 or something
They're
like
gonna
that.
have another
So
Oh,
one.
you have another one coming, right?
Right, next month, March 9th.
So that would be in this fiscal year.
Yeah,
So,
so I still think we're okay at 1,000.
okay.
Utilities, I left that at 4 because it's pretty close. And then road maintenance chloride's about 70,000 a year.
What's the difference between utilities on that line item and utilities on this other one?
That is a good question.
Under telephone, then utilities. So,
Are you on
all
a
right, so we,
page, Teresa?
yes.
Yeah, on the previous page, we had
On the previous page.
telephone
we have
and
telephone.
utilities here where we got most of the heat and everything. And on this one, I don't know why we have another
I don't know
utilities
why
on.
we have another utilities on.
But we had 3460.
So it's 2 different line
There's
items.
one gas and one electric.
Could be something like that.
Well, hang on.
We had to pull out what went into that
Yeah,
accounting
you have
deal.
to look and see.
But we had money in it, so I left it at 4.
It's the same
Somebody got
one.
pizza.
You want some?
Yeah.
Isn't it the same?
It is the same number.
It's
Oh, no, it's not,
It's not the
448.
same number.
No,
Same heading,
448,
but different number.
Right,
Oh, it's 448.
yeah, it's a 448.
So I guess we
I
can
have
look
no
that up
idea
and
why
see.
that's in there.
Yeah, but we should leave something in there because we actually had expenses.
We did.
What the heck did we
And on road gravel, what I did here is I brought the 200,000 that we didn't spend last year that's gonna be spent this year for the gravel that Lapeer sold out from under us. And I added 40,000 for trucking the money, the material I think we're gonna get.
Okay.
Okay, so that's how I came up with the 240.
How about road maintenance chloride?
That's 70,000. That's all.
So it's probably not the place to debate, but how many treatments is that?
It's usually 5. We've had that debate every year. There's the 4
Everyone
or
always
5.
votes 5 and I say 1.
Honestly, 5 is too many
Mhm.
from my point of view, living on a dirt
It
road.
happens every
What
year.
road you live on?
McGinnis.
Some
That's a
people,
primary road, it
Yes.
doesn't matter.
yeah, primary roads,
Yeah.
They're
Which
still
is
gonna
the-
do it 5 times?
It's the county's choice.
Van Road, I think is one that they do, or at least the top part of Van. Groveland Road, where it's not paved,
Wow.
and Wildwood Road, and until now, Barron Road, get done by the county. They do the gravel on it, we don't pay for that, and they do the chloride on it, we don't pay for that.
So
So
they begin to stop.
Oh, yeah, so
Do
they
they
want.
they make them McGinnis because it's part of the parking thing, up to Wildwood.
Okay.
Can it be a little
Yeah,
less
why
because we
do
won't
that?
have Barron?
No, because the Barron was a primary, and
Yeah, we don't pay for
that
it.
anyway.
Oh, that's
There's
okay,
like
okay.
43 miles of ours and, I don't know, 6 of the counties or something like that, but
Well, what difference would it make if we went down to 4 treatments? I mean,
it would be approximately 20% less. But every time we've tried that, it's perfectly fine with me, the road's hard in front of my house. But every time we do that, we get a few people that say, I don't want it, and then we get other people that say, you're not chloriding enough, and they want more.
I say we put that up for public debate.
And I'm fine with
We
it.
have done that.
Yes, you
But
can
it
say
always
that.
comes back more wanted to 5 than to 4, because what'll happen is the ones that are on a dustier road, if you ever looked at what happens, if you got a road that's high in sand content and not enough clay, the chloride soaks in right away, and if you get a couple of hot days, it literally burns it off the surface, and then they get dust right away, and they say, you need to chloride it again. What's their face down on why was always telling me that. But I'm telling you, I can't get them to do it because the foreman comes out there and says, the road's okay, it's just there's no trees on this piece of the road, and that's why it's dried out. It's gonna be like that if I chloride
Depends
it.
on much gravel trains go down.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'm just saying, we can have, I'm all right if you wanna put it to a public, video and have people comment.
You can contact them. You mark off your property edges. They have been known to stop
Yeah,
the
but
spray during
you
that.
still have to drive
And pick
through.
it up. You
Yeah.
still have to drive through.
Yeah.
You do, yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't kill all your landscape in the
Hey,
front.
Jerry, it will get hard to
That's
do
Jerome.
because every time you change it, it gets kind of cobbled down. I'm just telling you, but that's why it's 5. We've tried 4 once and everybody complained about it being dusty somewhere else.
Well, I'm just one person here, so.
Well, no, frankly, I hate the chloride because, it sticks to your car and it rots it out.
Right. And it's sloppy.
It's like you
It's
just
sloppy.
slopping up cars.
But if the majority of the people want 5, we go with 5.
Well, we can make it public,
Let's
record.
we can make a poll.
The next item, which is the road improvements, is the Barron Road, so that's the 245. Okay, 245,000, the last payment.
Non-negotiable, right?
Yeah. Actually, this is the only project I've seen in 24 years where the road commission came in and were being billed less than the original estimate.
Whew.
I've never seen that in 24 years, because the way they do it is we give you an estimate, then when we finally get the bids, we tell you what it is, and it's always more.
I might
Okay.
get that too, so you got my test. Okay.
Typically, they won't do it until after they lay the
Are
blacktop.
done?
I
All
think,
right,
yeah.
well, maybe.
But it's the only project I got, because that was really supposed to cost us almost 600,000.
All right. Okay, moving on.
Okay, landscaping, I think that's still okay at 2.
Landscaping for the
Here.
township
Yeah.
around here? Did we spend that last year?
Well, it looks like 1,026 without the rest of it, but that's probably high. I don't know, you wanna
Well,
make it less?
Is that's not,
It's the long.
a lawn
Long
mowing?
term, yeah. And if they work on the gardens for us, that kind of stuff.
That one
Yeah, garden.
and cemetery. Don't we have cemetery maintenance in here somewhere?
I was gonna say, that
Maybe
doesn't
it's in
seem
there,
like
it's
enough. 1,026, we paid them way more than
I
that.
don't know, but somewhere is cemetery. Now that I'm looking for it, I'm thinking, I
Yeah.
didn't see cemetery maintenance, but there should be cemetery
I
maintenance.
saw it in income, but not in outlay.
Okay, I don't see where
Well,
it
maybe
is.
it's under one of those utility things,
It could be
I
buried
don't
in
know how
that.
that could have been.
but when I think of landscaping, I think of, these bushes and
Yeah.
all
Well,
that.
mine was 2,500 when I had 2 stations done, so.
The 2,000 is probably okay for us.
It should be.
Excuse me, I wouldn't mind seeing it amped up around here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was part of my,
Can account for that. Some annuals, some fertilizer,
Weed killer.
weed killer's good.
oh, no, we're not
No.
using that.
No, we'll pull weeds. I'll come and pull them myself. You're not spraying.
No, propane torch works well.
Oh,
Yes,
I
that's
love that
true.
thing.
Vinegar and
Yes.
water.
You just have to have the fire department there in case you burn the building.
So if somebody were to champion that, I'd like to see another brand in there.
Another what?
For
Another
landscaping?
$1,000 to see if we could just spruce it up a little bit.
You wanna make it free?
Yes, I would agree.
Okay,
And spend the extra money, make
Okay.
it better.
let's do, I think we got it okay. The library, that's the deal of a lifetime, we keep it at
Yeah, Holly Library,
6,500.
yeah.
Okay, and youth assistance, I think,
Right.
Patty, we do the same thing now every year, right, pretty much for the 5,000.
The three.
Three, we got five in there, it's for both.
We did 25 apiece.
Okay, 25.
Yeah.
Well, he said 5,000, he was, oh,
Yeah.
we're talking about the two. of them.
Yeah. The unfunded OPEB, I don't know, I guess we can leave that in there, it's zero, but it's just a placeholder in there, there's nothing in there because we're funded. Health, life and disability, and, no, that's where I screwed up. I had
Yeah,
1,000 in
700.
there and you told me, I think, is it 12 or 13 do we want? Because we only had 782 as of this run, but some of those insurances get billed once a year at the end of the year.
Right.
So health, life and disability insurance.
Oh, that is, no, that's for our guardian. Standard and guardian monthly.
So I'm asking you, is it,
I
do
don't
you
know.
think it should be
I was
1,000 or
sidetracked.
12,000
Give me a
or
minute.
13 or what?
Um,
Because we're only running at 782. Is that where we canceled all the eye care and the dental care stuff?
yeah, I'm trying to think how.
Because that was the unreal of the lifetime.
Yeah, look, you could probably put 15 in there. Yeah.
100? 1,500? Okay.
I'm guessing what's gonna happen if I'm wrong.
We'll take it from somewhere else. HCSC, that's for the retired, so that's 8,000.
Sometimes you could use this one.
That's what it actually is. Pension MERS, Patty, I think we didn't calculate the number as 42,059.
Yep.
42,059. Yeah.
Yes, and it might be a little cushion because I think I calculated it on their high pay.
And OPEB 8,000, now, just so you know, we're probably heavier than we need to be on OPEB. One of the things that's coming down the pipe is MERS said that the money from when we all got hit in 2008 in pension funds and stuff with the economic recession, that's all been amortized now and covered as of 2019, I think, okay? Then last year they adjusted and said the rate of return we're going to use for our forecasting is 7.35 instead of 7.75, okay? And so they adjusted for that. There's one more hit coming and it's either going to happen in 21 or 22, and that is they readjust every 5 years. They look at the mortality tables and they see are people living longer or shorter? Do women live longer or men live longer? You know the answer to that.
Careful.
So
With COVID, that should go
She
down.
might prove you
Yeah.
right.
COVID might go down. So there is some adjustment coming down. I don't know what it is. So I've deliberately left the funding on OPEB a little bit high because I'd rather do that until we find out what it is. But that's probably going to be extra money there going forward.
Okay, so to answer your question, cemetery, repairs and maintenance bills, cemetery is on, it's here. It just isn't marked cemetery. So it's good.
Okay.
Where is it?
And the repairs and maintenance bills, 1099, okay, yeah. So let me read you the number. It's 101-276-930-000.
That's what?
That is, it reads repairs slash maintenance bills, that's cemetery.
Okay, okay.
And I want to say, I'd have to look. Repairs and maintenance bills, 1099. I think that too is where I get to where we take the actual lawn mowing for the township out. Only the cemetery mowing is already at. I would leave it at that because if you have to clean up.
Okay.
They charge us.
We need to pause for just one.
Healthcare savings plan.
Thank you.
Yes. That is for the retirees.
Oh,
That qualify.
So I'm adding up the numbers now from those front pages.
Next year, I'll bring a laptop.
So,
Next year, everyone should have a laptop,
Yeah.
and then they just put the numbers in.
no doubt.
I agree, but I don't think we can
Teresa
get
and I
it
would have next year fixed.
Oh, I mean, I have one I can bring, I just,
easily. I was just thinking I should have just scooped up a laptop. Sell it.
Well, you're real fast, you could mount one into each position there.
That's what I was thinking.
Some places
and
have.
we have to upgrade it every 6 months.
I should have brought my
It is.
drinking one.
Yeah.
It can
Let me
stick
get
in
it.
and
Let me make sure. I might have had these
These
already.
Right here.
And then here.
Take it.
Good lord.
Oh,
Why would you
yeah.
have these
Sure. I have
I should take this.
40 combos added manually.
2, 3, 4, 5.
Your mother loves paper. It's not her. Oh, come on. We all.
I'll just Excel it real quick. It'll be quick.
Excuse me.
All three of those, all these.
Yeah, everything in that column.
Even this number or no?
No,
See where-
We have two, I took a billboard.
Just
and
where it
you
ends,
only
here to
have
here?
one billboard. On your
Okay.
next sheet you get, you're only gonna have one.
Just from
billboard.
there to there,
Okay,
or that
so
number?
that one comes out. Got it.
not the one.
Yeah, that number.
No, that's what it should be.
Figure out why
This.
we're-
It's not, they're not all in there.
Oh my gosh.
It's gonna be sick on her Italian lettuce. She wants you to know. Stop.
Should not have.
Is that why you're in here?
I know, but
Did you hear what he said?
Mhm.
She's not happy.
Oh,
That's why he's in here.
Oh,
Did you get sent
okay,
here?
well, wait a minute, what did you do?
No, her lettuce is bad.
Oh, okay, okay.
She said, all this money for a salad, my lettuce is old and bad. I said, okay, I'll get an extra.
Oh,
Yeah, it's, well,
Yeah,
fearless
because-
leaders,
That's ridiculous.
yes.
if you or anyone in the office is so inclined, take an inventory of what you would like. Call the goddess for furniture,
Yes, chairs. I
Because-
have her number on.
because she will likely in the course of this year have very good quality used chairs for free.
Okay, we'll make it count too. I have her number on the corner of my computer. It's kind of roamed around the offices, ended up on my computer.
And I happen to know she's very not busy right now,
Okay,
so if you wanted to ask her to come in.
all right, yes, we'll take a look, see, because the chairs we're sitting in the office.
I need to buy new chairs too.
We'll talk,
Kevin, this
Yeah.
gives the charity like you can't believe from Comerica Bank. And these things are great shape.
We probably buy new chairs every year.
You know, but I mean.
Usually what we did, we bought new chairs for station one chairs go to station 2.
they float around.
And what she doesn't maybe have that she can give, she can brown those for furniture vendors and they'll deliver them.
She has the power.
I will get a hold of her.
Is it working? There we are. Nice.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how he figured it on our revenues. Then he went over again on the
Why is
gas.
it linked up
I
there?
don't know if the audio is working.
Hear you.
So we can.
All right, you're good.
What's gonna happen if we do, I forget which line item that was. We got short up here or something.
Okay.
Oh, what's gonna happen? I can move it from there out later there into. Got it. Kevin and I
The
are.
number I get for capital reserve, I may have made a mistake here because I'm eating pizza while I'm doing this. I get 75, 325 is the difference.
Hold on, I'm still adding the page.
That's gonna go to capital outlay or something like that.
Capital outlay reserve. If I didn't make a mistake, I might. Any Daniels? Okay.
The dyslexic for it.
Is that right? What did you end up with?
75,325. But it could be a
Extra?
mistake. Extra. Am I right or wrong?
Well, I got more like 20, but I could have had.
You might be, I might have made a mistake, and that's why I
Let's see what
said.
Vinnie comes up. I don't know if I got it.
Yeah,
No, my coach.
total appropriation, where'd you have for total appropriation?
Me?
Oh, that's
Somebody,
Yeah, 1,400, or sorry, 1,483,000.
I had 84 down.
1,483,442 is what I had
I'm
for
a little about 1,000 off from that.
appropriations. And,
What's the next one?
oh, this is what revenues. I didn't have that, did I?
What's the next one? Give me the next page. All the ones on the right column,
Yes, the ones on the right column.
all the way down.
All the way down.
Before I give the first one go around, I sit there and I do it 3 times so I get the same numbers every time. But I'm doing this on the fly, so.
you can't get my public up there with the numbers running around.
And I did confirm, as I suspected, that the DNR taxes is a totally different tax roll than the current tax collection.
Oh, okay.
So that is about 9,500 in addition to.
Okay.
Is that it? Those 3?
What'd you get?
I'll get you a sum. Okay. $1.469 million. Now you have to subtract it from that one number.
What did you get? 1, 4,
Well, tell me the number you want me to subtract it from.
just tell me what you got.
1,469,798.
Okay, so that's 3,000 different than what I got. I wonder if I missed, if I had something twice.
Must have, because I.
So I had 1,472,798. And I might have added something, I had to just stick it into my phone, I like to use a adding tape, but I don't.
No, I didn't even bring
Um,
anything to my phone over there.
This was the original number.
Subtract it from that.
Yeah, but
What's that number? 1, 4.
83,442.
You want the difference?
Yeah,
13,644.
but that doesn't include the 9,500 from DNR pills.
Right.
So add that on, so that's.
Add it on?
22,000.
Do I need to put that in the
I put it in the
regular
front.
numbers
Yeah,
and revenue?
yeah, right here.
Plus 95, 23,144.
And then I
So I got about 23,000 extra.
What are the original 3? What's that?
Yes.
These are 3, 1.
Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna try to have an Excel spreadsheet.
It's always hard to punch this many numbers in and not make a bad finger mistake along daughter, but she's a CPA, so she just clicks the stuff off automatically. I know I made a mistake here, so I phone on something here and there. I'll bring the rest of whatever you got. As long as when we put it in, we get it.
Do we have a?
Yep.
A roundabout figure, do you?
Do you have
Well, when I
one
added in,
69?
what's that?
Do you have 1469798?
That is what, Vinny got when he added, which I think is right. I think I must have added a number on.
Wait a minute.
He's going through and double checking, just a second.
I got 20,000. I got 1472798.
Oh, so it is what I got, yeah.
Okay. 1472. Okay.
1472798.
And then that means you got, including the DNR thing, 20,144.
Okay, so where does that number go then, that
The one
difference?
that says capital reserve, capital outlay reserve,
Okay,
or whatever's left at the end goes.
well, wait.
What do you?
That's the difference. I added that 52,394 with mine.
So did I. Was I not supposed to?
That's why you got 73. Hold on.
Oh, you had the original number I had and then added it.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay,
So the
so
52,398.
take that 52,394 off
Okay,
of the
now
total.
72,538.
There you
That
go.
sounds much better.
Well, it does sound better.
And that includes the,
So-
I said I never do it till I get the final and then I add it up until I get.
All
the
right,
points.
so the 52,394 should really be
725.
72,538.
and that includes the DNR, right, the 9,500.
I don't know. So that's subtracting it from, was that subtracting it from the 1483 or was that subtracting it from 1492?
I added everything up and then subtracted it from 1483442.
Okay, so no. When we put the 9,500 in for the DNR tilt, that takes our revenue total up to 1492.
So I need to subtract it from 1492.
And then 1492, I had 942.
Oh, so you, but wait a minute. So you just added the 9,500 to that
I
number
added the
I used.
94, yes.
Then
I
that's the
added
same thing.
500.
I have it. Because I just subtracted it, then added it. You
Okay.
added it and subtracted. Right?
So my,
Okay, hold on. I've got 1457416 plus 9500. Is that correct? 57416 plus 9500. That's what I had as a total.
Can you put those sheets in on the
well,
machine and do this? I don't want to-
7416.
145,416.
I don't trust this without an Excel
Okay, without an
spreadsheet,
Excel, okay, all right.
because now I don't know which numbers I was looking at.
So your number, Gina, what, that plus 14,
That was the total on incomes,
oh, okay.
plus that 9,500 now.
Yeah, I don't know, you need to, we should have been doing this real time.
Right, you need to have,
All right, an Excel sheet.
You need a TV up there where I can be manually changing it, you can tell the number, and boom.
The bully prints down, spits it right.
It does.
Mine will be that way.
Thank you.
We'll just come
did you
down.
have these, this,
Oh,
this?
No, you didn't do
These.
that.
Okay, these are the income, so don't add this,
Actually.
instead, put
Kevin,
everything.
you're a good man, you stayed through the whole darn thing.
3 sheets, and I got
No,
that.
I went.
Yeah, these are the two for revenues,
Add those now?
yes.
Bang your head on the wall or something?
Which one, the ones in this far?
Yes, anything that's
As you-
very far down.
As you would, Bob, I've been doing the same thing, and like, we'll make that 500, not 600, that's raising $100 there.
Before I did the original sheets, I go through it 3 or 4 times to make sure I get the same columns twice in a row. Because now if we're doing it on the fly here, it's very easy to punch one in wrong.
It's when it comes up and you're like, well, I better check all these numbers. Oh, there's no Roscoe. Well, that's an issue. That will be an issue.
Okay, all we got left to do then, because Patty, when she runs it, will print it and get those sorts of meetings so we have a chance to look at it.
Yeah, that's his.
I should be able to get a copy for you on Monday.
Okay, that'd be perfect.
That'd be great. Yeah.
The only thing that's left is the building department, and I can tell you what I did in a nutshell. If you want, we can beat it to death and go through every one. But as I said, I took the other half of Janelle's pay and social security and all that stuff, and I added it in the building department along with Danielle, which has always been there. The rest of the numbers that are in there are essentially, if you look on the income side of it, which looks like this page here, okay? It's the money from permits, and that's always different every year. I swagged it off of, I had Danielle give me the permits for this year, it was about 93,000. And I broke it down roughly for what I thought it would be. We balanced that against the figure that Danielle gave me for the inspector fees that we paid. And then I put the other dollars in that are pretty similar. And I'm happy to go over all of this if you want, but that's basically what I did here. And it ends up with about 35,000 left over at the end of the year, assuming all those other permit numbers and inspections are the same and they change every year.
So in the appropriations for 249, the first one says building planning manager Allen, that's really Wilcox.
Yes. Yes.
And then where
Janelle has 249-000-702-000.
Damn, I think you're
oh,
watching
this is
that.
gonna be Janelle at the top. And that's gonna be how much?
12,610.
12,610.
What was that?
And then,
But Pam walked in.
12,610.
okay, so is, I don't.
Oh, it's up here, you did it all the way up at the top? Oh.
Because I had 2 different sheets. You wanted one without put in.
You got it.
This is the one that everything was put in fictitiously. And I fixed it because this is the one I'm gonna use.
Okay,
Minus
Got it.
so I don't have any numbers.
I got a different number than you even.
Okay, what'd you
Mine's
get?
right.
You double checked all these?
Mm-hmm.
Or what'd you get?
1493019.
Okay, so when you subtract off the,
That's income.
yes, when you subtract off the expenses from the income, what are you left with?
If I take equals income minus expenses, 72,615.
72,615.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what Bob came up with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, and I apologize, it's my fault, I had to give me these sheets that I used first, and the rest of you guys have the final ones that she did, so my fault, I'm looking at the wrong
So for,
number. So your sheets are the same as Pat's, I think.
No, they have the same ones as you.
Oh.
But I will get this typed up. Hopefully, I might do it right here.
Yeah, the bottom line is when you get done, it will take, like I said, all of Danielle's costs and half of Janelle's costs.
Right.
Out of the building department. And the numbers for the permits and the inspections are all kind of swagged from what Danielle gave me off the reports for the last year. And adjusted, you know. It's, we can make them whatever you want, but I think they're fairly close. And then, the net difference ended up with about a $35,000, almost $36,000 surplus at the end for the building.
World's
You're
longest,
laughing.
we're laughing at the
I'm
world's
laughing.
longest Zoom call.
If anybody hears this, you win a prize. I don't think anybody's gonna.
I sat through all this one.
Can't go to sleep, watch the Zoom meeting.
Oh, my gosh.
Put this on YouTube, you'll get the least hits.
Oh my. All right.
I
I don't really have any questions about the building department.
Miss Patty, when she gets this printed like the other one, she'll get it to all of you so you can look at it and double check the numbers before we go to the meeting.
Okay.
It'd just be good, all of us having our eyes on it,
Um,
make sure if we made a mistake.
Procedurally, let me just ask you a couple questions. So when we're all done, we talked about every line item on here. We talked about everything. Now what?
Next Monday, I think it is your fire board budget. Kevin will give us that.
Monday morning. Well, that's all right. We'll just,
When we get through that, then we have to put it all on the March meeting. That's the public meeting, or then I'm guessing because it's a regular meeting, some people might dial in and ask some questions. We present it, and at that meeting, assuming we still all agree, we adopt whatever we put in this budget for the next fiscal year, starting April 1.
so we're not voting on anything today. We're just saying,
Well, I think all we need to do today is by resolution, I guess, really say, we agree on the budgets we went through and to put them forward for the March meeting.
I don't think we.
It's a work meeting.
Yeah, we don't have to.
Yeah, we don't.
Have to do that, okay. It's just to get a consensus, I mean, that's what it is.
It's a consensus, I would say.
It's March that actually
I'll
has
put
the
in the-
public meeting to comment.
Are we in agreement? We have a consensus?
Yeah, it's just to make sure we're all on the same page,
Okay.
and
I
any
would
questions
type up.
that we've had were asked and answered.
and nobody sent any questions in from the community?
Not that I saw.
Because I didn't get any questions in my email or anything, and I didn't specifically reach out at the last board meeting and said,
Didn't we put it on?
Yeah, that's fine. I just changed it to the fire one.
And it was in the paper.
yeah.
Yeah, the notice was in the.
And I put on
paper.
Facebook 2 or 3 times.
And on our
Is there a
website.
way, is that working again where I can present on the screen?
Cool.
There you go.
Hmm.
I don't know if I had it fitting.
No, we're gonna get a good song and dance on Monday, right?
I don't have that connector to the adapter.
RS-232 plugs.
We have, new computers don't have that.
But I thought there's a one underneath it, I think that's regular, like a modular jack.
No, that's
No,
just,
that's
that's audio.
audio.
Oh, is it? Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, I just want to say,
That's
Rob,
VGA.
I appreciate all the wheeling and dealing.
I live for that.
Yeah, let you enjoy it.
I'm impressed
They
with
might
the
choose to use it.
$100,000 savings for the gravel.
Right, the great, yeah, that's a great trade. And that talks to sustainability, right?
I said I'm doing
It's coming from
everything I
here.
can.
Yeah.
So that when I am gone, and any of us are gone, the township can run the same way and meet the obligation for what I honestly think is at least 4 or 5 decades in the future. And it's been a long time to build it, to get it to where it is now. It's time to kind of get it finalized and locked in, and I think we're real close. I'm just kind of disappointed at how long it's taken to go through the sewer project. I mean, you don't know how many times, George, we've had this conversation. Are they listening?
Send it to
So have they given up?
Well, there you go.
Carrie,
You guys, I
Pretty
had,
much. I mean, clear. If there's a penny charge in there, we're not paying for it.
I think I have.
And they did agree that there was some
Yeah, that's what we're
discussion.
looking for, yeah.
I said, we have a hard time understanding. We talked to the road commission. I mean,
So Kevin, you have one?
Jen's drain
are
commissioner.
you looking for one right
He
now?
said that
For
he
Monday,
had
yeah.
money left over from our Corps of Engineers.
The fire
His
board.
fire swag at $6 to $8 million.
For budget.
Now you're telling us that he wants
This
$10
meeting
million
for the fire
just to
board.
get
Yeah, but I thought it was
plant
after this today.
to the county line.
No.
We need more pizza. Are we done?
I did next meeting.
We're almost done.
You want to know how the whole
Can I
thing
end
was
it?
6 to $8 million? Now it's 60 just get to the county line.
Are we done?
I think if everybody's good,
Should I end this?
yeah, I think, and I don't know if you can edit some of that, there's a lot of blanks.
I paused it between the
Yeah, there
recording.
was still some other blank. I
I don't think you